The podcast on Haunted Hill will contain spoilers and swearing.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
Make some of this, Michael. Be one of us.
I didn't tell you my name.
Hang up.
I didn't tell them my name.
They're all a part of it. They're all parts of it.
Come.
It is time to keep your appointment.
Hello and welcome to the podcast on Haunted Hill, episode 97. Three, 1, 2, 3, away from number 100. Dan, I'm Gav.
Your math's fantastic, as always.
Yep, and I'm Gav, and this is Dan. Dan?
I'm Dan, and you're Gav.
Dan the man. If your name's not Dan, you're not coming in.
Gav the lad.
Oh, Gav the lad. That could be my London streets name, couldn't it?
Gav the lad.
Gav the lad. I'm fucking Gav the lad. Yeah.
You and Danny Dyer hanging out.
How are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm very well, yeah. It's been alright. It's been, still in the corona times, but yeah, it's alright, I suppose.
We're still there. We're coming out at the end of it, but it's still happening, no matter what people say.
Yeah, my kids went to school today for the first time in 6 months. That was interesting for one of them. Daisy did not want to go.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit weird, isn't it? But they do need to have that structure get back. I know some people are against such a thing, but be a parent, and I think that they should go back. So
I haven't been in my office for 6 months, I guess now, since March. So yeah, working from home, and they've started to allow people to come back in now, as long as it's sort of a certain amount of people. I'm probably going to try and get back into some proper routine, I reckon, in another month, and then go in regularly a couple of times a week. But I am itching for things just to be normal again, I'll be honest with you. Just want to get back, out of the house.
Yeah.
Go for walks, like to work and walk home from work, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I had a bit of a normal week this week. I did a bit of filming one night, first time in months, like months. And I also went to London, did some work, and I must be so out of touch that I ended up losing my car coming out of work, and pretty much turning into a small child on the streets of London, going, "Mummy, Daddy." It was just horrible. It was really this is the most horrible thing ever. I've just literally lost my car in the streets of London, and I don't know where the fuck it is, and I couldn't remember it. And it was it's a bit weird. It must be because I'm out of practice or something. It's weird as fuck. I've never lost my car. It's so weird.
Well, you said you're in a bit of a rush as well, and these things happen. And yeah, you're right. We're all a bit out of sync at the moment, aren't we? We're all a bit out of normal routine, really. I got the train last week to go for a picnic in the city of Bath, which is near Bristol, and I obviously had to wear my mask the whole time. Now, it's only a 15-minute journey on the train, but it's just so strange being on the train with everybody in masks. I was sort of thinking to myself, if I went back in time and showed a picture of that to myself, even a year ago, and said, this is what
next
your
year
train
looks
journey is going to be from now on, I would have just thought, fucking hell, and you walk around supermarkets, and I've ordered some new masks, actually. In fact, not that our listeners can see, in fact, you can't see either, but they look like sort of Latino gangster do-rags, I guess you'd call them.
Nice.
So I'm quite excited to start wearing those. I've got a red one and a blue one, just in case.
I wonder how many more criminals have got away with it with the masks.
Well, I was thinking that if you wear a hat and sunglasses and your mask, you can just go pickpocketing around the supermarket.
You need to have a superhero movie set in the Corona times. It could be called Corona Man. No, that's a bit bad. It's Super Corona. No, it's no good.
No.
That's as far as I go. Superman.
Yeah. Superman. Let's write a film called Superman. That's not been done yet.
As far as I go, Super and Man. I'm trying to mix words up in a comical sort of very cool way. That's it. What are we doing today, dude? We're doing some I know what we're doing. We're doing some fun fucking movies from the 80s, which I enjoyed thoroughly as a teenager when I was younger. What are we doing?
Yeah, so, well, we did, for your birthday a couple of years ago, you said you wanted to do some 80s vampire movies. So we did Lost Boys and Fright Night. That was a really fun episode. I thought we'd come back to it. We'll do some more 80s vampire movies. This time, we're taking a look at Vamp from 1986 and Fright Night Part 2.
I know. That's pretty
from
cool.
1988.
Yeah.
So both really good movies, really fun, and by fun I mean they're funny as well. You know, and that's kind of what's good about these movies, really. We'll get into that, but yeah, that's what we're talking about. So we're going to be talking about Brian Thompson, our Facebook friend, for Fright Night Part 2, and well, obviously we've got to talk about Grace Jones when we come to talk about Vamp as well.
So weird, Grace Jones. Just
she is a strange lady, but
she is a strange lady in life anyway. But yeah, we're getting to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What else are we doing?
Well, let's talk about a few bits that have been happening. First of all, just for anyone that isn't a patron, we dropped our second Patreon episode. Not very recently. Dan's Dungeon and Gav's Grotto are the two little mini segments. They're mini episodes. They're around about 45 minutes to an hour. And you talked about another movie from your collection. This time it was it Satan's Blade, wasn't it?
Yeah, from 1984, from my VHS collection.
It's quite therapeutic for you because you get to go through your extensive library of films and rewatch something, and if you don't like it, it goes, doesn't it? Goodbye.
Yeah, well, I'm not necessarily saying that because some VHS covers and boxes just look good. Satan's Blade doesn't actually. But anyway, if you want to hear what that's about, join the Patreon squad.
Yeah, and then I talked about
that's a terrible name.
I talked about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV series, because that was requested by a couple of our patrons. So I briefly talked about that, my top 5 episodes, my top 5 characters, and I cover a couple of the lower end of the budget films that you know I like, which I've watched a few of recently,
God.
Actually.
Oh my God!
Listening to tell you what I've been watching.
Or listening to one of the ones on the Patreon, it's like, oh my God, why'd you do this to yourself?
Well,
yeah.
I recently watched a couple more actually. One of them was quite a fun one. It's called Jurassic Games.
Yeah.
And if you think of the Running Man, but in Jurassic Park.
You said about this one on Patreon, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I just wanted to tell anybody who's not a patron to check this one out because it's from 2018 and it's 10 death row convicts and they're thrust into a virtual reality Jurassic Park world where they've got to not only fight each other but fight velociraptors and T-Rexes and it's so low budget, but the effects are actually really good and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, that's Jurassic Games. I also watched a film that I can't recommend, and you'll know exactly when I say the title. You'll go, well, obviously, why the fuck did you watch that? And that was a film called Super Shark.
Wow.
From 2011. This shark, Gav, is a prehistoric shark, and not only obviously can it swim and it's giant,
it's super too.
Well, it can fly, and it can crawl on land.
That is a pretty super shark, to be fair.
So what do the military do? They bring in tanks, but not normal tanks.
Super tanks?
They're tanks that have got legs.
That's super tanks.
Super tanks versus super sharks. It's fucking trash. I had a good time with it.
Yeah. What sort of time of day did you watch this movie, just out of wondering?
Oh, Super Shark. That was probably about 11 o'clock at night.
What's day? Oh, okay, night time. That's right, I get away with it. If it'd been like 3 in the afternoon, it'd be like, what's going on here? You know?
Alice sat in the room for about 10 minutes and said, why the fuck, her quote was, why the fuck do you watch this shit? And then she just went to bed.
You see, the thing is with me and Sarah, the difference, that is just literally sometimes me going, oh, I don't know about that horror movie. And she's like, oh, I'll just watch anything. And then she sometimes put stuff on, but like, oh man, that's pretty gnarly. You know, it's quite funny. But we do watch the same shit, to be fair.
Let's talk about what you've watched then. So I know that you recently watched, just very briefly, wanted to ask you your thoughts. I know you watched Venom.
Okay.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, I messaged you. I thought you'd be proud of me, so I WhatsApped you when I started watching it because I thought, Dan's going to be proud. I'm watching a Marvel movie. And, well, to be honest, the pull of it was Tom Hardy because I like Tom Hardy. And yeah, it was alright. I didn't mind the movie. I'd rather him having a British accent rather than an American accent. I don't think he needs it, but I suppose for his character, I guess. Is the character particularly American in the comics?
Yeah, he's American.
Okay, so yeah.
Strictly speaking, it's not officially a Marvel movie, although it's a Marvel character.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
In the Marvel universe, so it's like a spin-off, like the X-Men ones and stuff.
And because of that, I suppose it's quite good because Tom Hardy then wouldn't have had to sign a 3-year free picture deal contract or something, or has he?
Although I think he did. Yeah, he has.
Okay, I wouldn't have thought of that out from him, to be honest with you. It's I guess it's kind of like Christian Bale being Batman, really, isn't it?
But whether or not he makes any more, I don't know, because it didn't do very well. It didn't make enough money.
Yeah,
Although people seem to enjoy it, it didn't make enough money.
You said the CGI was kind of bad in your WhatsApp to me, and it was all right. It didn't really.
Yeah, I thought some of the CGI was pretty bad, but
it was. I'm not going to watch the film again, and I can't really tell you much about it, to be honest with you. But it was all right, eye candy to watch. The action sequences were fine, you know. It had an okay sort of story going along. Yeah, it was all right.
I am excited to find out your thoughts on another film that you've watched, though, that I have yet to see, and that is a British film called Get Juked.
Oh, Boys in the Wood. The original title.
Well, it's called Get Juked, but the original title was Boys in the Wood, which I don't know why they didn't keep that, because that works.
I didn't really. I was kind of gutted. The movie, the idea of it, and just watching the trailer and everything about it, you're like, oh, this could be a decent movie. And for some reason, it just didn't do it for me at all. I didn't like the characters, the main 4 guys. It's like, I don't really like any of you. And at times, though, it turns into a music video. And some of the it's weird. They eat some, I think it's mushrooms, and they eat something called explosive hash, which I don't know of. And they smoke that as well, and they have these tripping bits, so like the faces on the screen start vibrating like some sort of quirky music video. Basically, it's been made for kids of that it's probably made for like 17-year-olds, 16, 17-year-olds.
Right. 15,
16. For us, it's like we expect it to be, oh great, it's going to be that movie, and then we're like, no, we're a bit older and maturer nowadays and wiser, and we get that movie when we were kids, we'd be like, yeah, it's banging, man, but now it's a bit like,
because it's on Prime, isn't it?
Yeah, it came on Prime pretty quickly, but it's original of their movie, so yeah, it would do. So yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't into it.
Because the trailer looked fun.
Yeah, have you seen it?
No, I haven't got around to it yet. I will do. Definitely will. I mean, the trailer looked fun, like I say. It looked like a cross between The Inbetweeners, Shaun of the Dead, and maybe even, what was that recent movie? Hide and Seek? Is it Hide and Seek?
Yeah, I guess, but you definitely don't...
thinking of?
I think so. You definitely don't get Edgar Wright sense of humour, because I actually have just rewatched all of Space the past couple of weeks, and it's fucking...
Me too.
I enjoyed it so much. I couldn't remember a couple of the episodes here and there, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was like my comfort blanket when I got lost the other night. I got home, got into bed, put on Spaced. I was like, oh.
I was talking to Kate Pollock about Space recently, and we both said how much we realise quotes that we use in our everyday life are actually just from Spaced. There's so many things I say, that are just definitely from Spaced.
Yeah. Kate actually did say that they reminded her of me and you.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah,
With me being Nick Frost, I should imagine.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but I did say you're a bit more Nick Frost. Only because I look a bit more that, because earlier I looked down, I was wearing, which I'm wearing now, my baseball shirt, and I had my skateboard earlier. I was like, oh my God. I'm Tim, what's he called? Tim Beasley? Tim something?
Yeah, Tim's amazing. That's a great show.
It's really good, and you can see just watching Simon Pegg actually just say he really is quite skillful, and then the mixture of all of them, it's kind of TV gods almost, because the mixture of all of them, like, it's so good. That's why Shaun of the Dead coming straight off this as their first thing, and the energy they had then is fucking so good. And then
it's really clever as well. It's got so many things for us nerds as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Scooby-Doo or a Buffy or an X-Files reference, or whether it's, horror or anything really. It's just so much. You can go back and watch it over
Oh,
and over
like-
and over again. You'll
Like
catch
one of
so
the
many
episodes where Brian's developing photos, and each time he develops a photo, it's the sound from when you look at the pictures, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And then when he puts it up to the light, a spin-off of the Omen score comes in, and there's like a lines going through the people and the photos. It's like, oh my god, it's just such an overwhelming horror nerdishness coming through it all. It's so good. That's Edgar Wright, though.
I've got the box set, but I also, probably same as you, I watched it when it hit UK Netflix, and I thought, oh man, I'm going to start watching this.
Yeah, it's so good. If you've never seen that, dudes, I get on that shit. It's the first thing those sort of guys, Nick Frost, Simon Pegg, and Edgar Wright, did together. Really, yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Really good.
Ricky Gervais in it. Did you
I know,
notice
there's
it?
a few
I was just
people
like,
pop
what?
up in it, isn't there?
Yeah, it's just a dickhead sales agent.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah. Right. Go on then. Oh,
You also attended online
Fright Fest.
didn't you?
Yeah. I had the kids the weekend, so I couldn't really watch any other movies. So I just watched one flick on the Monday. It's quite cool. They did it online. Obviously, because of the Corona situation, they didn't do it. But they're going to throw it in October, a weekend before Halloween, I think, for UK people. If you go to Fright Fest or want to know about that, and they did movies. I watched a movie called capital A, capital V, The Hunt. So AV, The Hunt. It's a weird name. And it was Turkish, and it's basically the director came on beforehand, did a little introduction, and it's basically about the way women and, well, essentially more wives treated by their husbands, and it's one woman is cheating on her husband at the beginning, so I don't know where that comes from, or she's trying to just be away from him. I don't really know, but she is essentially cheating on him, and him and his families or brothers and that, they go hunting for, they go into the woods and stuff like that, and it kind of turns into a bit First Bloody, in the woods, with like them trying to hunt Sylvester Stallone, that sort of thing, and she starts taking them out a bit. It's an interesting movie, and at the end there's no ending though. She just runs off, carries on running, and it ends, and you're like, oh, there's no ending. But my takeaway message was that she will always be running. You can't get away from that stuff in Turkey. So, and that was that. Really.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I got a couple of other ones I wanted to quickly touch on that I've watched recently. I watched Dragged Across Concrete.
Yeah, I'd heard not as that great things about it, but you were loving it, weren't you?
Man, it is insane. I absolutely loved it. It's from the same director. It's from S. Craig Zahler, who did Bone Tomahawk, and he did Brawl in Cell Block 99. This is his third movie, and they keep getting better, in my opinion. And I do think this is the reason I think you'll like this is because it's like a Tarantino movie, but better than anything Tarantino's done in the last sort of 10 years.
Okay.
That's my opinion, and it's quite a bold opinion, but the chemistry between Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn is insane. The story is written so well. I'm on the edge of my seat for like 2.5 hours. It's just so good. And again, when the violence does come, it's extremely violent out of nowhere. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I can't recommend it enough. I know some people have said it's too slow, or it drags on, etc. But for me, that's what I don't mind a film like that when I'm engaged from the first second, and I am with this. I was engaged from the very first scene with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn, and they're not nice characters either, so they're not like heroes. So no one in this is a particularly nice character. It's just fucking brilliant. So if anyone hasn't seen Dragged Across Concrete, recommend it, but don't come gunning for me if you find it drags on a bit, because it is a long film.
And Dan does watch Super Sharks, so
I do watch Super Shark. Talking of shit films, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Thought I'd rewatch a film that you watched at Fright Fest a couple of years ago, and that was 31 by Rob Zombie.
Oh, you watched it just before we came on the show, didn't you?
I did. It's fucking shit.
Is it really
it's
bad
so
still?
bad. Man, I didn't really enjoy it the first time around. I actually think it's worse than 3 from Hell. It's so
saying something.
bad. It's just a mess. Like, I would say go back and watch it, but I wouldn't want to put you through it or anyone through it who has already seen it. It's just such a mess of a film. And I was thinking to myself, I think Rob Zombie needs to just stop making movies now, because he made some really good ones early in his film career, but he's just not recapturing that magic.
What he needs to do is work from someone else's script. It's such a waste of materials if you're going to make an effort and time to go and make a movie, and it just being like stop. Let's just get out of your little fucking hole in your head which you're stuck in, which is fine, but like you've got no fucking stories going on.
There's no story. Basically, the last few films he's done have been
a
group of horrible, disgusting, rapey people
doing horrible things,
who then get a group of even worse, horrible, disgusting people do stuff to them. And because they're all horrible, I don't really care if anyone dies.
Yeah, that's always the way, and I guess it's his way of doing things, and there's two ways of looking at it. You can look at it and be like, it's quite like, yeah, well, salute you, sir. You're making what you want to make. You're doing it punk rock style. You're doing what you want to do, which is cool, and everybody wants to do that in life when you're a creative person and get away with it. But come on, you could make so much better. It's like it's like I'm sitting here telling Rob Zombie off, isn't it? Come on, Robert, you could do a lot better.
Robert Zombert. Let's talk about Beyond.
Yeah, it had its first online world premiere at the HP Lovecraft Festival, which is online festival. We finished the movie earlier this year, and it was made last year, and then Corona came out, so it was like there's no point waiting. So HP Lovecraft Festival liked it, and they were happy to take it, and we premiered And Nothing Hurt there, so it's kind of cool. It was like a teaser for their proper festival, which is coming up in October, I think. That's a bigger festival, and it's got Roger Corman there, but it won't have Roger Corman sitting in his toilet, for all we know, online. But that's kind of cool. So yeah, last year he had Richard Stanley there, because he was obviously there for Out of Space.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm happy it's kind of out there, and at some point we will be able to release it like on YouTube. But we did that around Nothing Hurt, and we had like 1,600 hits. Like, wow, that's a lot.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
No, not really. I was being sarcastic. I'd have thought it had got a few more hits than that, but it's one of those things. It comes down to promoting and marketing, and I'm shit at doing any of that sort of stuff. So yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. What have you been doing? What else is going on with you?
Well, that's it really for me. There's only one other thing I wanted to touch on before we get into our first review.
You always say touch on, and as soon as you say touch on, I always think of like Gary Glitter or Jimmy Savile or something.
Okay, there's a subject I wanted to bring up.
That's better. Now it sounds like you're going to say something and tell me off.
I just wanted to mention that we sadly, the film world and the world, lost Chadwick Boseman very recently. Same age as me and you. And out of nowhere, this guy died of colon cancer. And I think it's incredibly sad because he found out that he was at stage 3 when he got the role of Black Panther 4 or 5 years ago. And so he's been making movies, all the Marvel movies and all the other movies he's done as he progressed onto stage 4.
But he didn't tell anybody at all?
He only told his immediate family.
Did he tell Disney?
Well, I think Disney executives must have known because they pushed Black Panther 2 back a little bit. And it was supposed to start filming very early next year with him getting prepped for it in the next couple of months.
Right.
But
so it kind of leaves a bit of a legacy, just only being one of the Marvel films.
It does. Yeah, he showed up in 1 or 2 other movies, Marvel movies.
I've not seen it, actually.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, he was a very talented actor. Apparently a lovely person, a great spokesperson and role model for young people. Okay. And I just wanted to mention it because it's just really sad, and also makes you realise when someone your age dies out of nowhere, not that I knew the guy, of course, but I really looked up to him and I really thought he was a fantastic actor and somebody that I was like, oh, this guy's great, he's got such good energy about him. And there we go. I just wanted to touch on that, really.
Well, I have a buddy who has the exact same thing as he did. right
yes.
now. So it's I'm sort of recognising it a lot more, and and just to end that on a higher slight note, my mum said I went round to my parents. They wanted me to hang some doors. I was trying to hang some doors. I say trying. That's a thing to do. Hanging doors, I tell you. And my mum said, "Did you know the guy from Pink Panthers died?"
Oh, God.
And I went, "Peter Sellers? He died years ago."
Steve Martin, from the remake?
Oh, fuck that, I've not seen that
Oh,
remake.
bless her.
Yeah, and I was like, no, there's Black Panther. Mum said, Black Panther? And I went, yeah, it's a movie, it's not Pink Panther. So.
Oh, dear. Imagine if he just showed up in the Marvel Universe. Pink Panther, Peter Sellers, just turning up.
That'd be weird.
Hello.
Right.
To help you.
I would now like to get on to the show, and we do we do a weird neon-coloured movie which I thought was starring Mel Gibson when I was a kid. Vamp.
What, Vamp?
Yeah, I thought that dude in it was Mel Gibson.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
He looks like young Mel Gibson if you look him.
Okay, great. Well, let's talk about it.
All right, we'll be back soon, guys.
Hey, where are we going? Doesn't matter. What counts is that you're my buddy.
My day didn't start off too well.
We be looking for ya.
Are we chunky tonight?
And then it got worse.
We're here.
And then...
Gentlemen, I give you Katrina.
You're just what I'm looking for.
Why'd you pick on us? It was a mistake. It was a little error there, a little communication error. I'm sorry. Uh-oh.
Let's just get out of here. This is not really happening.
Hello, baby.
God, you look awful. What happened to you?
I was nearly hung. I got into a fight with a psychotic albino. I hit a cockroach, my best friend disappears, and then I'm nearly assassinated by a runaway elevator. Anyone can have an off night.
Vamp, a comedy with bite.
Okay, so here's our first review of the episode. Vamp from 1986. Two fraternity pledges travel to a sleazy bar in search of a stripper for their college friends, unaware that it's occupied by vampires.
Such a fucking 80s movie, isn't it?
It sounds a bit like the Titty Twister from Dusk Till Dawn, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I might have brought Vamp up when we talked about From Dusk Till Dawn many moons ago.
It's directed by Richard Wenk.
Brilliant.
Sorry, he's got a very close-sounding, rude name. And it's got a few people in this. It's got Chris Makepeace, the guy that you thought was Mel Gibson when you were younger. He does look like a young Mel Gibson, I guess.
Yeah.
It's got Robert Russler in it, who was also in Weird Science.
He's been in tons, actually. If you look, he's still doing a lot of shit. Yeah, Weird Science, and that's the main one, isn't it?
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 as well, he was in.
Nightmare on Elm Street 2, yeah.
We also got Michelle Pfeiffer's little sister, Dee Dee Pfeiffer, is in this as well, and she's quite good in this.
Right, okay, yeah, no, she's fine, yeah.
We also get Gede Watanabe, the Japanese guy that was in 16 Candles, as Lung Dok Wang, or something his name was.
What's 16 Candles? Oh, that's that.
John Hughes.
Right, yeah.
And we also get Billy fucking Drago.
Yeah, Snowballs.
And Grace Jones. So this is quite the cast.
It's a very, very 80s film. Now, my first introduction to this was Alex Cox, the film director. Did you ever watch Videodrome on a Sunday night on BBC Two?
Yes, I've caught episodes of that when I was younger.
Yeah, this is my introduction to this film, and I was just like, what is this film? And I used to record all the movies he would play on BBC Two, and I'd record, so I used to watch this back over and over and over. It's such a weird movie, very neon lights, and just such an 80s movie. They're trying to get into some fraternity house, and just go off to get strippers. It's just very 80s.
Yeah, that's the plot basically, is we need strippers. Oh shit, there's vampires. That's the plot.
Yeah. That's it. There's nothing else, but that's fine. That's all you need.
I can't remember the first time I saw this, but I definitely thought it was a different film, because whenever I see the very famous cover in video stores of the lipstick with the fangs, Vamp, I always thought that was like a sexy film or something, you know, like I don't know, I don't know what I thought it was. And then I saw this on TV or something. I don't know where I saw it. And then eventually one day someone lent me Vamp, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to finally get to see this film. And I've already seen it. This is that vampire movie I've seen.
You mean the cover of the green Grace Jones and her boobs? It's a drawing.
No, the one that's just lipstick.
Oh, okay. You should check out the other one. It's just
I've seen that
oh
one
my
as well.
god, because it. As a young kid, you're looking at it going, well, there's boobs, and that's cool. But then you're going, but that other shit ain't cool. That's not cool, you know.
Yeah, this film is wacky, but it's fun.
It's 80s.
Yeah, it's definitely in the sort of top 5 80s vampire films, really, I would say. You know, it's definitely up there. But there we go. Should we get into this then and crack on through it? Just before we start, I want to let everybody know that this film is available to watch on YouTube. So if you aren't able to find it anywhere, it is in one long stream on YouTube as of recording. That's how I watched it.
And you've got to watch, if you're a horror fan and you haven't seen Vamp, you've got to watch this movie because it's a nice nostalgic trip to a more innocent time of weirdnesses which you could get away with, and it's a definite like straight to VHS affair.
It's so fucking 80s, it hurts.
Sarah's like to me, "Go watch it, Sarah." And she's like, I bet Grace Jones said like, right, if I'm going to be in this movie, I'm going to do this performance, and that weird performance which they all go, yeah, and you're thinking, you can't keep that performance up each time. That'd be so exhausting. So you can't just do it at once. But anyway, it's a weird thing. And I messaged you, didn't I, to say like we're covering 2 movies that have vampire performances in them. Like abstract performances, abstract art performance, and it's just
people
like
that eat bugs as well.
Yeah, and 2 movies where people in it eat bugs, and they are both almost like the vampire helpers anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it goes back to that Dracula thing with his friend, the dude.
Familiar.
Yeah, it goes in the mental asylum with glasses. I can't remember his name. Sarah's shouting at her phone now. Should we get onto it then? Yeah,
of course. So it's a great score, I would say. Very 80s.
Yeah, I love that song. It's one of the main songs. I think it's that she she does her dance and performance I was talking about. I think it's that song over there. I was like, Sarah, this is banging, isn't it? So I was looking at me, yeah, okay. And I was like, oh, I really like this. I used to love this soundtrack. But yeah, I'm with you on it, man.
Grace Jones sings a song over the end credits as well. It's a fun, you know what you're getting, really. You know what you're getting. So we open up with a scene with some monks, some barefoot monks. And we're thinking, well, this is quite gothic and very surreal. And these monks are leading some men with nooses around their necks to some kind of mass hanging ceremony.
Yeah.
And, they start chanting. There's a very booming voice that comes out of one of the guys, and he's sort of, this is a test of your immortality. And you see there's already a couple of guys that are dead. However, the tape does a bit of a Milli Vanilli.
It does.
And it doesn't go right. And we find out that the guy's miming. And this is actually a fraternity pledge. And it's all fake. And it's just to try and get these guys to sort of jump off with these fake nooses around their necks.
Yeah.
And this is where we meet our main guys, Keith and AJ. Keith and AJ. They sound like 2 80s guys, don't they?
As a kid, I was like, oh, that's definitely scratching when the tape starts to go. And then I looked and I was like, oh, no, it's just a reel-to-reel. You turn the reel-to-reel back and forwards. Yeah.
Well, Keith and AJ...
They're a good duo, aren't they, actually?
They are, and they don't take any fucking shit, because obviously they want to get in the frat house, but they're like, you guys are shit. This is a really shit prank. We don't think we want to be in this, actually. In fact, we're going to turn this down flat. And they're like, what? Oh, hang on a minute. I thought you really wanted to be in it. They're like, yeah, we did, but you guys are pretty lame. And they're like, all right, well, there's one more test. Can you get a stripper? And that is where it all kicks off. So their mission now, this is the crux of the movie.
Yeah.
We need to get a stripper.
That's the movie. That's our protagonist's mission for this film, is to get a stripper. And
they do it, they can join the frat.
I love the fact that they just know who to go to, and they go to their fella mate Duncan. All right, Duncan, how's it going? And Duncan's this guy who has obviously parents who have got a lot of money, sent him there, and he's got money, but he hasn't got any friends. So he's there playing golf with a golf like arcade machine type thing and net just in his living room with someone standing there commentating what's going on. And now Duncan takes the second hole. And it's just like he pays this person to stand there and commentate him playing golf, and it's like, what on earth? This must have been written by people high on coke.
This is a really fun character, actually, and he plays it really, really well. This kind of character would actually be really annoying in most films, but actually you kind of grow to like him a bit, and he's quite a fun character. Like you said, it works that he's got loads of money, and he sort of says to them, "Hey, you guys should hang around. I can give you loads." He's bought loads of pizza for all the people in his apartment who aren't even his friends.
Those dudes are a team of like people on computers with their own little terminals doing his exams, doing his test papers, and then when the alarm goes off, like it's a group of workers, and it's like Fred Flintstone finishing for the day. Boom! And they go, and I give me some money. Here's your test papers. I've got pizza. Come on, we can have some pizza. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And it's just, oh god. And he's got a fleet of limos that he rents out. It's like, what the fuck? And cars.
This is the reason that they've gone to him, because they need a car to get into town to go to strip clubs and find a stripper. So, Duncan, please, can we borrow one of your cars? And he's like, well, I could drive you into town if you'll be my friends. And they're like, no, you're all right. He's like, go on, just be my friends. Just pretend to be my friends just for a few days.
No, he's like, for a week. Pretend to be my friends for a week. And they're like, no. And he goes, pretend to be my friends for a week. And they're like, okay.
So there we go. And we get a road trip now. And they start singing along to Robert Palmer, don't they?
Yeah.
Doctor, give me the news.
Well, I didn't know that was Robert Palmer. I didn't even know. I've only know that song from this.
Oh dear. Well, they find an advert in the newspaper as they're driving along for the After Dark Club.
And they don't know when that is. When's After Dark? And then I don't know. It's dark now, but when's it after dark? Which is a good question, you know.
It's funny. So they decide that's where they're going to go. They go into a cafe first of all to chill out. And as they get in the cafe, they realise they're in a weird part of town, very strange part of town, because they walk into the cafe and the owner starts putting on a crucifix, and he's like, "Can you guys get out because I'm closing up now?" And you know, it's very strange.
Like,
and then all of a sudden,
a diner.
All of a sudden, Billy Drago and his gang walk in, don't they?
Yeah, it's so strange. It's a shame Billy Drago passed away. He was going to be in that Tarantino's last movie. Thingamajiggy Hollywood, whatever it's called.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. He was going to be in that. Unfortunately, he wasn't though. And I'll tell you another role I like Billy Drago in is the Untouchables. He kills Sean Connery. Spoiler.
I like Billy Drago in most things. He's so fucking creepy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And
he plays an albino in this as well, doesn't he?
Weird choice, but yeah. And he has a little gang with him, and he has like. He's with a woman who kind of has like a third tooth or something. It's really weird.
She's got like fangs almost, doesn't she?
But she's not a vampire, so I don't understand this bit because they're not in the werewolf gang, those guys.
Werewolf gang?
A vampire gang.
Fucking hell. Well, this is where we see AJ and Vic. Again, they were badasses in the opening scene where they sort of stood up to the frat. And they're badasses again here because they come over to them and they sort of try and intimidate them. They flip their coffee over. And this really, really winds up AJ. So he sort of stands up, throws his coffee over them and says, so he pushes him up against him and he says, I'll cut your fucking snowballs off, doesn't he? Or something like that. He sort of grabs his balls and sort of says, if you want to keep hold of these.
Yeah, well, he just spills some coffee on AJ's suit. So Keith kind of just goes, uh-oh. So that obviously means trouble because AJ's like some badass. And if you touched his fashion, oh my God, you've touched his fashion. Ooh, you're gonna get beaten up, or whatever, trouble.
And all the while, Duncan is hiding in the men's toilets because he's gone in there, and he comes out and sees this all sort of kicking off, so he goes back in and hides in there for a little bit, doesn't he?
I've always loved when he comes out and goes, wooey! What? It's like, your pipes are still blocked. I'm just gonna go fix them. See ya. It's so funny.
I love this bit though, because when he slams Billy Drago into the jukebox, like the jukebox starts playing a tune, and it all goes a bit. It's just 80s all over, really. It
goes 80s in an almost 50s way, isn't it? This movie is very much. I tell you what, this is the horror comparison of Martin Scorsese movie After Hours.
Wow, there's something for you if you've not seen Vamp, guys.
Have you seen After Hours?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, don't you say After Hours and Vamp? They could probably see it. I reckon one's like the B horror movie of the other,
Totally. Well, they basically beat up, not beat up, but they overpower Billy Drago and his gang.
Yeah.
And they leave, and Duncan's like, yeah, you better watch out, because if you come outside, my friends will kick your ass. And they're like, shut up, just get in the car, come on, for God's sake.
They tell him though, he's like, they ordered 6 coffees. And when I was younger, I was like, what's that mean? Does that mean that they're so hard that they can drink 2 coffees each? No, Gav, it's because there's a gang of 6, and that's just the 3 of them. And I was like, oh. Simple mistake for my little fucking pea brain.
So you thought this was about Mel Gibson drinking loads of coffees?
No. The other gang. It's the other gang. They say they ordered 6 coffees, and that meant because of 6. Okay, fine. You put them in a little chain, aren't you?
Well, they go. They find the club, the After Hours, the After Dark club, and they decide they'll go inside. And AJ says, "No. I'm going to go inside. You guys wait here," because he's obviously the badass. He's the leader. And Duncan's like, "Look, there's no way I'm coming all the way to town with all this money."
Yeah.
That might be, man. I'm not going to go and see some strippers.
You need Duncan in there, don't you? Absolutely. Duncan's the money. It's like, Duncan, get all the drinks in. Give us some cash. I'm going to put them in the thong of that lady over there,
Well, in the end, Duncan goes in, which means Keith's like, I'm not staying outside on my own with all these fucking lunatics, so I'll come in as well. So they all end up going in, and they get stopped by Vic, who is the familiar of the vampires, it turns out, but at this point we don't know that. And he sort of says, I need some ID. Duncan opens his wallet. He's got hundreds and hundreds of dollars in there. He's like, that'll do, come on in, boys.
Yeah, it's very funny. And this club is this run by this dude who he desperately wants to go to Vegas. That's his dream, to go to Vegas and have a club there. It's a bit more higher class,
classier strip clubs.
Yeah, and he's such a funny guy who sort of runs the place. He's got his like clean up dude. It's this big guy who just keeps smoking cigars, wears a white shirt, and for some reason Grace Jones seems to be like the queen vampire who runs the show and has everybody's power in a like kind of Dracula in a way,
Well, Vic, the guy that the sort of the compare, he is her familiar, and then his henchman, the big dude with the cigar, he's in love. He's in love with Grace Jones. Yeah. So he's been bitten. He's a vampire too.
He's been smitten. You mean?
Yeah, he's bitten and smitten.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll meet Grace in a moment. Before that, though, we do see a stripper on stage doing a very
builder of major erections.
She's got a hard hat on, and she's a builder of major erections. I've got to be honest, this strip club is pure comedy. These girls in there.
I've been to a couple of joints like this before. I've never seen a construction worker, but I loved it. So he said, builder of major erections. I just laughed, and I laughed every time I've heard that gag, man, on this movie.
It is, and it does work, and it's funny, and this movie lands a lot of jokes, and they all work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really does work.
It's not over the top though in any way, and the makeup in this movie is fucking really good. Really, really good makeup.
The makeup, going back to it, the script as well. I think that's why it works, because it's a very nice, tight script. I mean, these are quite believable characters. They're not pushovers. They're not geeks.
Yeah, and it has that look of like the pink and green, real hard neon lights at night time in the alleys and stuff. It's just like it's such an interesting film, and it's a real quite one of a kind almost, even though it feels like a copy of loads of others. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. It sort of came out around about the same time as all the Fright nights and stuff, so it probably got lost in the mix. If it wasn't promoted enough, then it would have just I think it probably did well on VHS though.
Yeah, this definitely, and like I say, Adam Cox, Adam Cox, not Adam Cox. What was he called?
Alex
Cox. Alex Cox showing that on Videodrome, because Videodrome's a really good show. It just, if you don't know this, in England, when was this? Like late 90s?
Yeah, it's
or earlier
around
than
about
that.
then.
No, probably earlier than that, maybe.
Mid 90s,
probably like
probably.
early to mid 90s, I think. And this guy, he's a film director actually. He did like Sid and Nancy. I can't remember what actually done. He just would introduce films he likes, and you wouldn't have seen these films before. And this is where you got to see everything. This is where I first saw Terminator. I think possibly RoboCop. Loads of just films like that, and you wouldn't have seen them apart from this dude going, yeah, you got to check out this movie. You need to give an introduction to them all. It's such a cool thing to do. I really miss it actually. You can still watch a bit of it on YouTube, like clips from his introductions.
I miss those kind of shows.
Yeah, because you didn't have a chance to watch those sorts of movies. So all of a sudden, it's just out of nowhere. There's this show, so everyone would get around the TV and watch it. Or you'd set your video to record it, or you'd record it, Many times I'd go to bed at night and I had school the next day with the video just whirling round and round, and I'd fall asleep to that.
The 80s and 90s were great for shows like that. You had like the BBC Two did the sort of the Hammer and the Universal Monster shows. You had all these like great things that you'd look forward to as a kid, and you just don't really get that anymore. I know they've got the horror channels,
but that's
streaming
because,
and stuff.
That's because this is more like then we didn't have a chance. So when one of those shows came along, like this, every Sunday for a 2-3 months, when that came along, it's like, oh my god, what's going to be on it? You'd look forward to it, but now because there's so much out there, it's too hard. It just gets lost. It's not special. Everything's special. True. It's not one special thing. So yeah.
Well, back in the strip club, a waitress. This is Michelle Pfeiffer's little sister, Dee Dee Pfeiffer. A waitress called Alison says to Keith, "Hey, it's me," and she sort of waves at him. And he's like, I don't know who this person is. And Duncan's like,
yeah,
you don't remember her? I'd remember her.
I'll remember her for the rest of my life.
He's like a cartoon. His eyeballs are literally popping out of his head at anything with a pulse in there, Duncan, isn't he?
I loved it. I would start drinking again for Duncan.
Well, they order some drinks, and as they order some drinks, the compere says, "Introducing to the stage, Katrina."
Yeah, and just this massive performance comes on, of a emotive performance of lighting going down, and it's
it's like an African tribal drum beat.
Yeah, of Grace Jones's voice going, and just like sounds and things, and then
there's like a huge headless statue in a chair.
It's a chair statue, and which she at the end of it gives head to finish the performance, a fade out on, which everyone just stands there going with their mouth jaw. It's so funny.
She looks crazy as well. She's got, obviously, Grace Jones is black, and she's got like white makeup all over her, bright red hair.
She basically, and that song's really good that she goes to, but she basically does the zebra bum wobble. Do you remember that bit in it she does when she lays on top of the hands and she just starts wobbling her bum cheeks? I'm wobbling my bum cheeks with this. Listen, can you tell I'm wobbling my bum cheeks? Wobbling my bum cheeks.
She does some really animalistic dance moves. She's got very scary eyes.
Yeah.
My notes say, this is the weirdest striptease ever.
It is. It is. And what do you think when you watch that? You'd be like, I came here to see boob. What on earth? I feel like I like high art culture now. I'm going to go to a museum instead.
She's got slinkies, one on each boob as well, doesn't she? She's got like these big coiled springs on each tit.
Yeah.
And yeah, the lights go out. All the men are stunned, and like you said, they stand up and slowly are like,
yeah.
Whoa.
Like she couldn't keep that up every performance. What's the next performance going to be? It's so much effort. Like the other women just like, what do you reckon the other dancers were doing? Like looking at like, well, who's up next? Well, I guess it's you. Fucking hell, how am I supposed to follow that?
Hard hat girl after, and she's like, for fuck's sake, I was just going to do the YMCA with my tits out, but oh god.
So at this point, those two, because Duncan was told to stay in the car, and he's gone inside, and they've gone inside, and they notice Keith and Duncan. Keith notices AJ at the bar chatting to one of the women walking around serving out drinks and stuff. And he just looks over, nods, and she says, "That's the one, pointing at Grace Jones. So they're like, "Right, I'm going to get there." And he goes, "Oh, can I go speak to her?" And he goes, "Oh, okay." And this woman takes him backstage, and they look and they give each other thumbs up from over a distance, like, "Oh, yeah, well done, dude. Go get her." What would you do?
AJ's done it again.
Yeah, but what's he done? If he gets back to the fraternity and there's all these horny 16, well, no, like 17, 18-year-olds, whatever there, they see that, we go, what the fuck's this? We just
Grace
want a
Jones's
stripper. What is this?
performance art.
What is that? Yeah, what's the zebra bum wobble? What is that shit?
Why has she got springs on her boobs?
Why has
What's
she got
going on?
springs on her boobs? What's going on? We wanted a stripper and you've brought back this. What is it? You know?
Well, AJ goes backstage, and we don't see him for a while now. And Candy comes on stage now, so another girl called Candy, and there she is dancing away. And turns out that the waitress that recognised Keith, she sort of, we find out later on she played spin the bottle with him, but he doesn't seem to remember this. She even spins a bottle at one point and points at him, trying to remind him, and he's like, "I don't know who the fuck this girl is, man, but she thinks she knows me."
And she gets really annoyed by him. He's a bit embarrassed. He's like, "Yeah, that's really nice," and just looks away.
AJ is backstage and he gets lost now.
Yeah, well, I was about to say he gets seduced is what he gets.
Well, he gets lost initially, and then he goes in a little room and he finds Katrina in the room, and she is silent in the room. And
what would you think if you were in that situation?
I'd think go for it.
Would you?
Grace Jones, she just starts giving him this private dance. She sort of lies him down. She sort of writhes on him. At one point, he just says to her, in the middle of all this sexy writhing, he just says to her, "I can see you're a professional." What a thing to say in the middle of a lap dance. Can you imagine saying that in the middle of a lap dance or a striptease?
AJ's the stud in this, though, isn't he? He's supposed to be like the cool dude, the stud, the guy who got snowballs earlier and blah blah blah. So he's gone to get her. So he's he's at the level of Grace Jones in this. So they're both, do you know what I mean?
She undoes his shirt and he takes it off, and we get his muscles come out now. And she starts licking him.
Yeah.
But of course, suddenly she vamps out.
Yeah, really fucking good effects. And
the first thing we see, actually, which you don't see this in vampire movies, is feet. She gets these clawed feet, doesn't she?
She basically is like a female black version of the Barlow vampire from Salem's Lot.
It's really terrifying.
It's fucking like that's when because you get the different types of vampires. You always do. You get the romantic, good-looking type character, or you do get these ones, and these ones being the really horrific vampires. Like that's the shit that you don't want to meet.
Yeah, she's really scary looking. The makeup's great on both her hands and her feet, and Grace Jones herself really commits to it, because we've already seen that she's quite animalistic with her dancing.
Well, there's not one line of dialogue, so it all comes down to physical performance for the acting, and it's pretty decent. You know, you can't go. It's because she doesn't speak anyway. For it makes it almost look more terrifying. It makes it unhuman and not real. You know,
it's a strange experience for AJ. So we cut away from him.
Damn straight it is.
And we see Keith going in the men's room, and he goes in there, and there's a guy in there with his shirt off, and he's got loads of holes and scars all over his back.
That's the cleanup guy for the club, isn't it?
This is the one that Grace Jones has bitten, and he's in love with Grace Jones.
Yeah.
So he's got loads of these little holes and scars on his back. So we can only imagine that Grace Jones is sort of feeding off of him regularly, off of his back or something. There's a lot of him because he's a big fat guy, isn't he? So there's a lot of him.
Big guy. Yep.
As you once said about Candyman, he's a big lad.
He's a big lad.
At this point, we see the compare is slightly inhuman because he starts eating cockroaches out of a bowl, which for some reason Keith decides to eat one of. I don't know why he does this.
He puts his hand and doesn't look, and he puts it in his mouth and just chews it. And then it's like, oh, and spits it out. But he notices what it is.
Well, at this point, he decides it's time to leave.
Well, no, it's not. He goes looking for AJ. Yeah. So he decides to leave and he goes looking for AJ.
Yeah. He says to Alison, can you help me find my friend AJ? She's like, yeah, all right, we'll go backstage. So they all go backstage and they're looking around and no one knows where he is. Oh, I don't know where he is. He came to meet Katrina. No one meets Katrina. And then Alison says, oh, I bet he's left with Candy, the girl from earlier, because there's a hotel that I'm staying at and a lot of the strippers are staying at. And I bet you they've gone back to the hotel for a bit of the older...
Because apparently she melts in your mouth and in your hands.
I love each stripper's got their like tagline.
It's like a wrestler or something, isn't it?
Yeah, the builder of mighty erections, and she melts in your mouth, not and in your hand.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like Christ.
And this is a problem though, because this woman that's taken AJ back originally was supposed to only get the loners, the travellers, the people travelling through and that sort of stuff. No one,
The low lives.
Yeah, no one with anyone, especially like in a group. So she's got it wrong, and this isn't good. So the main dude is just kind of pissed off by her for doing this. Grace Jones is like, I'll sort it out. And obviously we know what's going to happen there.
Well, Keith heads outside into the alleyway and he sees a bit of a scene that reminds me of The Burbs, actually. There's like a suspicious bit of trash that gets thrown away, and it looks like it could be a body. We don't know. Could it be? Could it not be? We don't know. And then Alison and Keith then spot a very creepy little girl as well. So this neighborhood is really fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's trouble now because Katrina seems to have eaten AJ, and the girl that brought him in to Katrina didn't know. She just assumed, another meal, brilliant. But she didn't realise, obviously, he's quite a well-to-do guy, part of a group, like you say. He's not a lowlife or a tramp. He's going to be missed. So Katrina just gets the girl and rips her heart out, doesn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. It just literally rips the heart out, and it's like, whoa, that's a bit full on.
So Alison and Keith, and we don't know where Duncan is at this point. We assume he's drunk.
Duncan's gone. Let's just forget Duncan. He's pissed.
We do find him later on. But
He's still at the club wandering around, and they're like trying to clean up. And the woman goes, "Hey, when did you get off?" And she's like, "About 2:30." He goes, "Can I watch?"
He's like reciting lines he's read in a book or something, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, Alison and Keith enter the hotel that they think AJ might be at. They go in this lift, and it's quite a creepy lift. And then he gets out, and then she gets stuck in the lift. The lift carries on up, and then the lift opens, and she's gone, and he's trying to find her. There's weird screams coming from the hotel room. Then the doors shut on him and start almost cutting him.
Well, the lift kind of has its mind of its own. And you got the bellhop inside it, haven't you?
Oh yeah, the creepy bellhop.
Yeah, well, you don't get any more. Imagine that as a job, doing that, just like pressing lifts all day long. It must be kind of chilled, I guess. It's not like a too stressful job.
That's it.
Yeah, what for? Okay, cool. Don't press the buttons. They're my buttons.
69.
Yeah. What happens if you need to fart? You're just going to fart in the lift, I guess. And after a while, it's going to be a bit like, it's a bit pungent in here.
I like that's where your head is at with this.
Well, I'm thinking of the worst case scenarios,
Brilliant.
So the doors open up. Worst case scenario being a bellhop.
Well, he uses a fire extinguisher to jam the door open so he can get out, doesn't he?
I guess worst case scenario is like what's going to happen to Keith, or like if you got stuck in the lift. It's probably more than farts in the lift, I guess.
I should imagine.
I guess so.
Well, Keith and Alison manage to find each other again, but they do argue.
No. Well, go back to where we were. Keith, the door open up and Keith goes to get out, and all of a sudden the door's shut and making him fall to the floor. Then the lift goes up and it's literally about to like lop him in half. And that's the idea of it. He's been sent there to be killed. That's the plan. They phoned the hotel ahead of him getting there and said, "You've got to kill him," and that's what they're trying to do.
But he manages to escape because, again, him and AJ are pretty badass, really.
Yeah, well, he runs out the hotel, so the manager of the hotel sees that and goes, "Oh my god!" And he runs back to ring up the club to say he's got away, so he needs to send other people to get him, which just seems so full on. But obviously, they're trying to keep the secret of the fact that they kill people, but they're all in on it though, hotel as well as the club. That seems.
Unfortunately for Keith, after him and Alison argue, she goes one way, he goes another way, and Snow or Drago
Snowballs
and his gang, they find Keith and they chase him.
Yeah.
And it seems like the whole gang are albino. Do you think they put makeup on, or
I don't know.
They all look like they're albino, don't they? Unless they're just a gang of albinos that happen to hang out together. And he decides he's going to hide in the sewer. So he goes down in the sewer, and they actually lock him in the sewer.
It's a strange choice.
I wouldn't go in the sewer.
No.
But he wandered around the sewers, and he sees that little girl a bit earlier, that he saw earlier, and she's luring a paedophile over to her, isn't she? He's sort of looking out for the grating.
I don't really think he's a paedophile, but it is weird. And what's his purpose is to say to him, he's saying to her, "Come over here, little girl."
He's like, "Come here, little girl."
Okay, yeah, I guess actually, yeah, you don't say.
And then she then it's quite clever, this bit, because it's off camera. Suddenly it's a bit like that scene in Let the Right One In. She just goes to town on him.
She flies up and towards him. It's really cool.
And then you just see him sort of collapse right in front of the grill, right in front of the camera, dead. And it's like, what the fucking kind of a night is he having, man?
That's what I'm saying. It's definitely Martin Scorsese's after hours, definitely.
Then he sees a man behind him in the sewer, and the man's like speaking weirdly, and then he grabs a rat and starts biting into a live rat.
I found my friend.
What is going on? Everyone's a crackhead in this town.
It does seem to be that sort of thing in this town. I love the fact that when they actually approach the town, they go to town, the car spins around, and then an intersection, because they almost hit a car, and then they just wake up and it's just dusk and there's no cars around in a different street, and not one of them says, that was strange. Like where's everybody and everything gone? Because that's really weird, and we don't know where we are now. Yes.
This is definitely a weird part of town, isn't it?
And it kind of makes it almost like, did they actually have a car crash? Are they dead? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, could be.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Well, he manages to escape the sewer, thankfully, but again he runs into Snow and his gang, and they find him.
Well, they're looking
so he hides
for him,
in a trash can.
They're checking all the drains going along. Oh, he's over here.
He gets in a huge trash can, and what does he find in the trash can?
He finds his friend dead.
AJ's corpse in a bin, which is, again, let's break this down. This guy's gone to a strip club. His mate's gone missing. The other guy he's with, who's not really his mate, is hammered in there. He then goes off to find his friend, goes to a hotel, almost gets cut in half by a lift, gets chased into some sewers where he watches a little girl kill a grown man, then another man bite a rat's head off.
Yep.
Then climbs in a bin to hide from the gang, only to discover his friend's corpse next to him.
And all this time, he does not know that vampires exist.
And just when you think things can't get any worse, a giant garbage truck almost runs him over. Yeah,
because they're out to try and kill him as well. But he doesn't know that the gang, the vampires have killed AJ. He thinks the gang's killed AJ and put his body in a dumpster. So he still doesn't know anything about the vampires. And that's why it's such a funny bit. It almost has that from Dusk Till Dawn, because we haven't even had if you're going by Keith, we haven't had his reveal of knowing that there's vampires yet.
We've only really seen the one vampire.
Which I wonder if, Tarantino actually took it from this. Do you know what I mean?
He's got to have been.
He must have done. Must have done. Just gone with Keith's perspective, possibly.
Well, Keith calls the cops from a payphone, so he alerts the cops and says, my friend's been killed. There's a gang after me. Can you come and help me?
Yeah, he phones the police, gets through, and they're like, yeah, cool, okay. And it's like, oh my God, the police are going to come,
Katrina's having a go at Vic, the compere. She's saying, it's terrible that Keith hasn't been found yet. And he says, oh, look, Katrina, we need to get away from this place. This is where he says, we really need to go to Vegas. We can get a really lovely place there. You can eat loads of people there.
Yeah.
And it'd be a really classy strip joint with loads of fresh meat. Come on, it'd be really, really good. She cuts her wrist for him, and he drinks some of her blood. So she's definitely...
What's the score of that, drinking some vampire's blood?
Well, you just become half turned, don't you? And you have to do their bidding with the promise of one day they'll turn you fully.
I'm guessing it's the same as like heroin or something, or like a drug that you can just keep going back to.
But it makes you kind of invincible and eat cockroaches.
It does. It's going to fuck up your mind, basically, I guess.
Well, Keith and Duncan managed to bump into each other in the club again. By this point, Duncan is absolutely fucking wrecked. He's been just drinking absolute tons because he's got the money to do it, of course. So Keith decides, I'm stressed. What else is there to do? I will go and sit on the toilet, because that's what we all do when we're stressed.
Well, it's one of those things when you're in a club or something like that and you do need to get away from people or something like that.
Oh, I've done it.
Yeah. What can you do? It's like, go to the toilet, because at least I can just be like, I've got to go to the toilet. Thank God, bloody hell. You're
kind of safe in the toilets, not really, aren't you?
For a little bit, just to compose yourself.
You can hear the music from the main club coming in when you're in there, and it's probably quite gross because pissed people are like weeing all over the seats and stuff. But you think, well, at least I get a bit of peace to myself. So this is what he decides is good for him.
Once upon a time, I was at a Nirvana tribute band concert, and I was very drunk, and I was, I don't know, 18, 19, don't know. I went to, and all of a sudden, I just got really hot. I don't know what was going on. My body just got so hot, and I went to the bathroom. I pretty much stripped completely off in the cubicle. I was so hot, and I was just really drunk. I was like, "What's going on?" And I was just like boiling hot. It was really weird, but almost like I was turning into a werewolf from London. But that's the only thing I could think of telling about a toilet and me.
I once got the shits really badly in a club. I'd been drinking all day. It was like someone's birthday, and we'd done an all-dayer.
Yeah.
And I'd had some really like spicy food, and all of a sudden, you know, when your stomach just goes, emergency. You don't have more than about 10 seconds. And I had to run to this toilet, and I looked at the seat. This is a disgusting story, so I apologise beforehand to all of our listeners. I don't even know if I should tell it. I'm going to tell it. And I got into the toilet. There was piss all over the seat. So I thought, I don't want to sit there. Oh, I'm going to have to just hover.
Yeah.
And this explosive diarrhea shot out of me. And it was like a one-hit wonder. It was all it needed was this one gunshot. Poof, and that was it. And I instantly felt the stomach ache was easing off. And I turned around and I'd completely missed the toilet because I was hovering.
Wow.
And it had gone all over the sort of tank and the pipe and the wall at the back. And I just thought, I don't know what to do.
What? You left it, didn't you?
I did. I went back out and my friends were like, you look a bit better now. You're looking a bit peaky just then. And I said, yeah, maybe we should go soon. We stayed for like another hour, and I even think one of the people in our group came in and said, someone's left a fucking state in that toilet. Someone is an absolute animal. And I was like, oh really? That's terrible. I wonder who could.
I feel I can just imagine you dancing away, and every time someone goes to the toilet, your eyes just move, your head's nodding, your eyes just move to the toilet. So you're like, oh god, I hope they don't come over this way. They're not going to have. They know it's me. Oh god, and you see people coming out each time being more and more disturbed looking each time they come out like.
I feel so bad now I've told that story because somebody had to clean that up.
Yeah, the cleaner of the club the next day had to clean that up.
God, I'm so sorry, whoever you are. Anyway, Keith sits on the toilet, and while he's in there composing himself, someone tries to come in, and it turns out that it's AJ. And he's like, what the fuck, dude? You were dead, I saw. And he's like, come on, it was a joke. It was a joke.
Yep.
What a joke to play on somebody. Putting makeup on to look like you were dead, getting in a bin. What a horrible joke.
But then the big boss comes in and says, "You, there's some uniformed gentlemen out there to see you."
That's right. And the cops are right because AJ called the cops.
Yep.
Keith called the cops. So they question them. They're getting really told off.
That's going to be my hip hop group.
AJ and the cops.
No, Keith called the cops.
Keith called the cops. Okay, I like that.
It's not bad, is it? That'd be me and you.
Keith called the cops. I love it.
Okay.
So the cops basically say to them, this is a really, really bad part of town, and you're about one hair away from getting arrested for wasting our time. Go home.
Yeah, because they're like,
not a nice area.
What's going on? Well, my friend, he was dead. Well, he looks alive to me now. I'm like, well, he was dead. Look, I don't like coming down there. It gives me indigestion. So the guy's like, hey, gentlemen, I know you like to watch the last act before you go. Come on, let's have a little look at it as we walk through, hey? Come on, guys.
Because the compere keeps the cops sweet, doesn't it?
Yeah, the compere.
They turn a blind eye because they get free strips and lap dances and a couple of beers.
Yeah, and the compere looks over to AJ, and AJ sort of just gives him a look, and it's like, oh... We know what's going on here, don't we? And then so they kind of hang out a little bit and try and talk about it and say, well, let's get Duncan to get the fuck out of here. Yeah, no worries. Then all of a sudden, no reason really at all, the other woman who's there giving AJ a massage turns, doesn't she?
Yeah, she just completely vamps out and starts attacking Keith.
Because they're about to leave, so that's what they wanted. So I don't know why they...
Well, he's saying, relax, come on, relax. And the girl starts rubbing him, and it's like, I don't know, maybe they're trying to seduce him with their vampire ways.
Well,
but
I don't understand that, actually. It's a bit weird. But I guess they mean, like, they know that they can't actually leave, but they're doing that just because... Oh, no, they did that because the cops were coming. That's why they brought AJ back. And how did they
to calm
do
them
that?
down, I guess.
How did they bring back just giving vampire juice? And
yeah, I guess. If they turned him, All you need to do is drink a bit of Grace Jones' blood, as we all know, a bit of Grace Jones' blood, and it will bring you back to life.
I guess. So that's why they brought him back. So then, obviously, that's why they then turn. As soon as that happens, as soon as the cops are off the premises, boom.
Keith manages to kill this vampire by ramming a stiletto shoe into her chest.
She is a horribly ugly, scary, disturbing vampire. It is really traumatic because you're looking, going, I can see your breasts like very normally, like that kind of looking upwards. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Then it's like, whoa, the makeup's so
quite
good.
A contrast, isn't it? And I'm going to go as far as say the makeup for the vampires in this is probably better than like Lost Boys, Fright Night. It's some of the best practical makeup, isn't it, and prosthetics. It's really, really good.
It's a certain look, but I reckon they're going on the Barlow, the vampire from Salem's Lot. I reckon that must be the look they're going for. It's so good. Or like the original Nosferatu. Is it Nosferatu?
Yeah, because they look quite bat-like, don't they? But their ears and their noses and stuff.
That's it. It's more bat-like, I guess. Yeah.
AJ says everyone here is a vampire, and he vamps out.
Yep.
And he basically says, you know how hard it is to see you walking around like a walking meal. I just want to suck your blood. I want to drink you and eat you. You just, and he's got no reflection. He says, there's no reflection. I can't even see myself. And Keith says to him, all right, if you're going to kill me, just promise me I won't come back like you. And so he's kind of resigned himself. He's going to get killed, but then he kills. Yeah, he stakes AJ. AJ actually says, "Please stake me."
Yeah,
so I don't want to be like these assholes.
And he kills his friend, and it's kind of a bit like, whoa, that's kind of a moment, I guess, because these two are like the duo. They're like the buddies, and one's had to kill his mate, which is like, it's quite a thing.
Well, my note says AJ asked Keith to stake him, but the bromance is too strong, because there really is a really great acted moment in all this comedy and weirdness where there's a moment between them where you can see the genuine friend love between them.
Would you stake me?
Oh, it'd be hard, man. But I guess I'd have to, but it would take a lot of.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So in the end, AJ actually stakes himself.
He does. Yes.
But as Keith leaves, he says, "Oh, take the keys." And he says, "Oh, by the way, these are the rules as well. Everything you know from the movies is true. Sunlight, blah, blah, blah." So just as he dies, he gives him a bit of information and some car keys. Always handy. Thanks for that.
Absolutely. And I like as they're walking out, you can just catch a bit, just before he's going to try and just walk out of the club, you catch the guy saying, the compere saying, "Single man special. All you can drink for $1. Like, wow. All you can drink for $1 if you're single.
I think everybody in there is single
basically,
or getting a divorce.
Yeah, well, basically it's just like, if you're single, don't worry about it. You can drink yourself to make yourself happy. It's like, oh my God.
And just stare at these women jiggling around in a hard hat.
And then go home and wank yourself into subconsciousness.
Well, the Vamps corner Keith and Duncan and Alison at this point. And this is where the compere gives a bit of a backstory. He says, we weren't supposed to kill your friend. We're only supposed to eat the dregs of humanity, the lowlives, the scum, the homeless. But too late now. You guys can't escape. There's no escape. So Keith says, all right, can I get one final request? This is very clever. Really amazing.
This is what they do in Vegas. They do that in Vegas. Yeah, they do this in Vegas. One last trick. Oh, that's class. That's real class. Yeah, like, give him what he wants.
He says, "Can I have a brandy? A double? No, a triple? No, a quadruple. Just give me the bottle." So he gets a bottle of really expensive, very flammable brandy. And he says to Alison, "Take this and spill this everywhere."
Yeah.
So you can see where this is going. And he's got cups and he pretends to sort of throw it around. He accidentally throws some onto the compere as well. And he says, "Sorry, man, I'm just getting drunk. I'm going to be dead soon. So I just, hey." And he does it really well, really plays it off well.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he lights it up. And the whole place starts going up, including the compere. Mm-hmm. As they're about to escape, I love this. Again, a really good little moment. Alison just cleans out the till. She just takes all the money out of the till.
Yeah, I quite like that from her, actually. She's just like, oh, fuck it, let's take the money. And I think that's the stripper in her, isn't it? Even though she's a newbie at it, she's got that mentality. Just like, oh, fuck it.
What I like about her character is, although this is an 80s movie and there's really only one woman in it other than Grace Jones and a bunch of strippers, she's like the main character other than Grace Jones, but she's not your standard bimbo. She's like
No.
she's a bit of a badass. She's really annoyed all the time that Keith doesn't remember her, and she's going to take the fucking money. If we're getting out of her, I'm going to take the money as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, good on her.
And she's kind of like the, unknowns to him, the love interest for Keith. He walks off into the sunlight with the girl, you know.
Yeah. So they decide, let's go into the basement because we can go out through the beer cellar trapdoor out onto the street. So they do. They go into the basement. They get out onto the streets. They get into the car. It gets rammed, but they drive off.
Yeah. Well. No. What's really funny because they're sitting in the car is that you pass it by so like tumbleweeds. They're in the car, and it's quite a tense moment because you got basically two of the trucks, the trash trucks coming towards them. They've got these massive.
Just about to get to that.
Oh, go on then. You say it then.
No, you say it.
No, you say it.
No, you say it.
Right, they've got these massive pronged tongs coming out in front of the lorry, and they're both either side of them going to take them out, basically going towards them. But there's a car parked next to them, which is just about to move. It's a drunk person going back and forwards into the car. It's just like an Austin Powers
so
moment.
Annoying.
It's just like, oh my God. And eventually
because it's so tense, and you really want this guy to pull out of the parking
trucks
space.
are coming so close back, both at the exact same time. So just in time, they managed to pull out the parking spot, go through it. And when you look at a wider shot, that parking spot is massive, and it's like, well, how big was the car? But then again, I guess it is America. The cars are quite longer, and the two trucks just actually go into each other. That was pretty cool. Seeing it,
was really cool.
It was quite intense scene. But yeah, sorry for shutting you off. Then I thought you were. I thought you bypassed it.
No.
Yeah.
As they drive off, though, Duncan says, "Oh man, I am so hungry. I am so hungry. I'm so hungry." Yeah. And he has been turned into a vampire, which makes him crash the car.
Yeah.
The car catches on fire. Duncan, bless him, explodes in the car, doesn't he?
Yeah.
They leave him in there. He hasn't had a very good night. Well, he has had a good night, actually.
It's kind of a shame that Duncan's not more of a character. You could almost have a movie. Nowadays, you could have a movie starring just Duncan. As that eccentric, weird person.
One of his wild nights.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be quite funny, actually.
Well, we're not finished yet because now Keith and Alison break into a shop and they get some guns and a bow and arrow. And it turns out that what we didn't mention actually is in the very opening shot, Keith is pretty fucking handy with a bow and arrow.
It's a bit of foreshadowing with an apple slicing.
Yeah, so he grabs a bow and arrow and he actually says, "I'm pretty fucking good with one of these." He's like, he knows he is though, and that's all right. Alison finds a rocket launcher, and he's like, "Whoa, got any ammo for it?" And she's like, "Unfortunately,
you mean
not."
bullets? No. I was like, "Oh, what bullets?" Okay, God.
Bullets for a rocket launcher.
Just like, I found a rocket launcher. Can we use that? Like, what? We can use it once if we've got a bullet.
And this is where they find out they really are in Vampire Town now, because he kills a vampire with his bow and arrow, and then they see a bus, and they're like, "Quick, let's get on the bus." But the bus is being driven by a vampire. And it turns out the whole neighborhood is just full of vampires. But then we get that payoff now because Snow and his gang turn up.
It gives them diversion.
And they get surrounded by vampires. And they just get eaten. And you're like, yes, finally Snow gets his comeuppance because the vamps have eaten. So as bad as those guys are, they don't realise they're in a town full of vampires. So they all get taken out. They go back into the sewers again. They like going in the sewers in this film, don't they?
They do.
And Alison reveals that she knows Keith. She says it was at Jeff's party, and we kissed, but you don't remember it. And then they hear footsteps, so they run off and they find lots of skeletons. And this is again.
Do you think it's like
Dusk Till Dawn?
Very Dusk Till Dawn. Do you think it's cheaper just to? Obviously, you still got to get the gear and the lights down there. Do you think it's cheaper just to film on? I don't know if this is on location or what. I presume it is actually on location. It's not a set built sewer. I wouldn't fall for the budget for this.
It might be. I mean, it might be why that's sticky going in there.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Well, yeah, possibly. I don't know. Strange. Interesting. It'd be good to see a behind the scenes of this. And the DVD never used to have it. I used to have the DVD.
Yeah, there's not a lot behind the scenes on this, really.
There's no, I've never even really heard people talk about this film, to be honest. I don't think I've heard a podcast talk about it. I'm sure there has been.
I think RJ McCready did it for either Dude Looks Like the 80s or Bite Size Cinema podcast. I'm pretty sure, but you don't really hear many people talk about this film.
If anybody, I'd imagine it, RJ would have covered it.
They find lots of skeletons, and they also find coffins and an Egyptian sarcophagus. And it turns out that I guess Grace Jones's character Katrina is supposed to be like some ancient Egyptian vampire.
Yeah.
So they hide, and they see all the vampires from on the street come back down into the sewer, and they all start getting in their coffins because obviously it's going to be light soon. But Alison lets out a little bit of a scream, so they start waking up and they start chasing them.
Yeah.
Keith lights up the room. He burns all the coffins. They get split up again. So he's got his bow and arrow at the ready because Katrina grabs Alison and she opens her mouth, and Keith fires an arrow directly into Grace Jones' mouth. She's terrifying in this end scene. Again, she's like because she's really tall, Grace Jones, as well, isn't she?
Just looks like a powerful woman in general. She just looks like that. And having this, she's like the silent killer, and the fact that she's a really fucking well made up with makeup, a scary fucking vampire. Yeah.
She's brilliant in this. She's got the arrow in her mouth, then Alison stabs her with a pipe, but she's still alive.
Yeah.
So Keith decides, I remember what AJ told me about the sunlight, so he starts using sunlight, and the sunlight hits her and she explodes, leaving just her skeleton. She does a they live move where she flips them off with her finger just before her skeleton collapses.
Which is also like Fright Night, really, isn't it? Which came out a year before. Yeah. No, is this 84 or 86? It's 80.
This is 86.
So Fright Night came out a year before. Apparently, Katrina's vampire makeup was based off Pris from Blade Runner 82.
I know, I read that.
I don't know Blade Runner very well, so I can't tell you what.
I don't think it's her vampire makeup. I think it's her makeup in the first performance where she's got the red hair. I think that's the makeup that they based off of Daryl Hannah in Blade Runner.
And I love the fact that Tina Turner was considered for the role.
I know, it's crazy. I can see her doing it, but
I'm so happy it's Grace Jones. I don't want Tina Turner.
She would have been like, "You're simply the best."
Steam my windows.
Not push city limits. Yeah, she should have stuck to Mad Max 3. She's better than that. So they've won. They leave the sewers. But he is suspicious, and they never do this in movies. Whenever there's two survivors, they just kind of, that's it, we've done it. But actually, Keith's like, hang on a minute, how do I know you're not a vampire? And he's kind of a bit suspicious of her.
Yeah.
And then they get pulled back, and it's the bouncer is still alive.
Yeah, well, he's got his bow up to what's she called?
Katrina.
No, Alison.
Oh, Alison, yes.
Yeah, he's got his bow up to Alison, and his fingers are bleeding. He's pulling it back so taut, and it's quite incredible the fact that she ducks, and he knew that she was going to duck to kill the person behind her. That's quite incredible.
And the bouncer gets killed by AJ, who's still fucking alive. This guy's got more lives than Super Mario Brothers.
Sorry, I'm going back to the holding the bow for when killing Grace Jones.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm getting those two kills muddled up because it's the same sort of thing. Because then it's the same principle. Someone stand there in the sewer holding Alison. Right, I got you. Yeah, it's AJ behind it. All of a sudden, AJ's back again. It's like, hang on, how many times do you keep coming back?
But the reason he's a bat is because he says to Keith, it wasn't real wood that you stabbed me with. It was like balsa wood or something.
Yeah, I think it's like plastic, fake wood.
And he says, well, that was one wacky night, wasn't it? What a thing for your vampire mate to say to you after all that. That was a wacky night.
And they climb out the drain, they walk off, and they say, "Hey, you still with us? Hey, I'm still with you, man. Walk us back. I'm right behind you, right below you."
So he's walking along under the sewers as they walk back to town.
Yeah, as you can imagine, it's quite an ending which is not likely to happen, really. It's like, what?
I want to know more about this relationship. Is this going to be like Shaun of the Dead, where he keeps him in the shed or something?
Yeah.
You know, and he's got his vampire best mate. You know, and he lives in the sewers, and him and Alison go and visit him now and again, bring him rats and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of the film, other than a Grace Jones song over the end credits.
Yeah. Indeed.
And it is one hell of a fun film.
Yeah.
I think it's not a case of you either love it or you hate it. I think you've either seen it and you love it, or you just never seen it. And I do think most people that have seen this film appreciate it for what it is, which is just a really fun, funny, but also really scary at times. I mean, I'm glad I didn't see this when I was really young, because I would have been quite terrified by some of those vampire effects.
Yeah, totally.
Really, really good vampire effects. And just overall, really, really fun film. Deserves its place in, you know, when people make lists of 80s vampire movies, you've got, like, obviously your Lost Boys and your Fright Night. This is always in the top 3 or 4. And it's on YouTube, guys. If you haven't seen it, go watch Vamp on YouTube. It's totally worth your time. It's just a great 90 minutes. You'll really appreciate it. And it's very nostalgic and a lot of fun. Thumbs up, Gav, from me.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely give it a thumbs up. It's like I said earlier. If you've not seen this film, you should check it out. I can't foresee why. I don't think you might dislike it, but I don't know. It's fairly innocent and it's really good makeup. So for a horror movie, you could do a lot worse. Definitely.
It's a very original story as well. Apart from the fact the main story starts off with "We need a stripper," actually it turns into quite an original story with a few plot twists. Like when AJ gets killed, you know, if you hadn't seen this, you'd be like, oh shit, they've killed off the main guy already.
Yeah.
Probably going to come back as a vampire, but then obviously he ends up as a goody vampire.
You can see all these little twists. You can see where someone like Tarantino could take these ideas, you know.
I'll be honest as well, because I know that you probably, like me, haven't watched this for a long time. I was a bit worried you'd revisit this and think, oh, that's a bit lame actually. But when I was watching it, I thought, actually, I've got no worries. This is so enjoyable. I know Gav's going to be enjoying this as well.
I've seen this movie a lot of times, and I know it's fun. So,
yeah. Oh, nice one, man. Well, there we go.
Nice. Is your time machine ready?
1997 is ready to be visited. Are you ready, though? That's the question.
Well, I'm ready for not really hearing much about hip hop and a little bit more about horror movies.
Well, that's going to happen in time.
Let's slip into your dank tank.
My dank tank. Here we go. You ready?
Whoa! What's this machine?
This is my time machine.
Your time machine?
Yeah. For the next 5 minutes, we are going to be the time team.
The time team. Whoa!
What's this? Look at that!
Look at that!
Oh, he's been dead 100 years. Look at that!
Look at that's the Statue of Liberty coming out of the sand.
Oh, there's a dinosaur!
Oh my God! Look at that! It's something else.
Yes. Yeah, I put a lot more lubrication into the workings of the time team this time.
This helmet's more comfortable. The inside of the helmet feels more fleshy. What's it made with?
Don't worry about that.
It's not like some Ed Gein thing going on, is it? It's very
please don't worry about it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Don't smell it. Don't smell my helmet.
Okay.
Now, 1997, Gav. A few things happened.
What?
Princess Diana died.
Oh, I remember where I was.
Where were you?
I was driving to I was the supervisor at a restaurant, and it was a Sunday morning, and I was driving to work because I was working the weekend, and I was driving the back streets, and it was October time, was it? Was it kind of autumn time? No, it was the summer, wasn't it?
It was
summer,
August.
Yeah.
It was actually the 31st of August, which is only a few days before we record this episode.
Yeah. Yes, so I was doing that, and I remember that, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. And since then, they've got all those conspiracy theories that are still coming out right now.
And it totally changed paparazzi, didn't it? And, the rules around that kind of stuff. I was on holiday with Rob and Dave and another friend of ours. We were having a lads' holiday. We were about 18 or 19. Woke up Sunday morning, hungover. This was all over the TV. And one of our friends was like, I'm going to go out and get some milk and some newspapers. So I said, oh yeah, get me a few newspapers because I want to read what's going on. No internet back then. So he comes back with 2 copies of the same newspaper. One of them was like Diana and Dodie on a yacht sunbathing. And then that was like the first edition. And then literally a couple of hours later, they'd released a second one that was completely like a black for the morning sort of stuff. Morning is in MOURNING. And it had like Diana is dead, our princess is dead. And I thought, you bastards, 1 minute you're like, look at this, she's all sleazy on a boat having a sunbathe.
That's just
and then in the same day, you've released oh my God, our princess is dead.
Well,
pretty crazy.
They do whatever's going to sell the papers, and that's the horribleness of that. And it's kind of a shame because she was all right, wasn't she? Out of the royal family members and everything, she was all right.
Yeah. She just called that same year, 97, she just called for an immediate international ban on landmines, which adds to the theories. She was really pushing forward for things to stop.
And the fact that obviously she was with like someone else then.
Yeah, and he wasn't an English white guy. He was an Egyptian guy.
It's Al Fayad's son. Yeah, crazy. I saw him once.
Very strange. Did you? What, Dodie or Mohammed?
Mohammed.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was at Harrods. I was working at Harrods, and he walked past me, and I stopped, and he just went, "Carry on." I went, "Oh, cunt." She said, "Oh, that's how you make your money. You're an arsehole. Gotcha. I guess I'm never gonna have any money."
Other things that happened in 1997: Hong Kong, up until this year, still belonged to the British, which I really don't agree with, and we actually gave it back to China. That was very nice of us, wasn't it? So it became part of China again in 1997.
Isn't that nice?
Tony Blair became Prime Minister.
Great.
United Kingdom. There he is, Tony.
You got a lot of British stuff going on in this. What else is going on?
We've got Microsoft. Became the most valuable company ever.
Before Mac.
It was worth 261 billion at this point.
Wow. I don't know if Mac took that on at any point at Apple, that is. But wow, that's crazy.
That's crazy, isn't it? Mother Teresa died the same year.
Okay.
She was about 220. She was definitely very old. I don't know how old she was when she died.
I was almost about to say then I didn't think she was real, but I'm joking.
Mike Tyson did something this year. He bit a piece of Evander Holyfield's ear off, didn't he?
Yeah, it's going a bit far, isn't it?
That's your response. It's going a bit far.
That'd be me if I was a ref at this live show. But that then actually
stop now. It's going a bit far.
Come on, it's going a bit far now. Let's stop this. And then get a tattoo on his face of a real 90s tattoo.
Yeah, the tribal tattoo. Jesus.
The 90s are rang. They want their tattoo back.
Don't say that to his face, though.
No, oh God, no. And I wouldn't steal his tiger either. No, but he's got another match coming up. Did you know? A comeback match because he gave up.
Yes, I've seen him in shape actually. He's
well, he
a beast, isn't he?
Well, he said on the podcast he was like, I don't think about boxing or training because as soon as I start training, I turn into a different person. It's kind of the Dr. Jekyll type thing, and he turns into this gnarly machine, like a machine. And it's kind of weird.
Because I've watched some videos of him training, getting in shape for it.
Yeah.
He's in his 50s, I think, now. Well, the guy is a beast.
Well, he was just doing owning a hotel which you can go to and smoke weed with him because he's got his own brand of weed. And he sells it at his hotel. And that was what he was doing. You just go to a hotel and get stoned with Mike Tyson, which would be really weird.
Imagine that. That would be such a weird...
Hey, ma'am.
...thing to do.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I got a lisp.
Hey, man, how's it going? Yeah, but and once upon a time he said he only ever smoked weed and was high with one of his boxing matches, and that particular one he did really well, and you can watch the video footage of it. And he said he completely knew where the punches were coming from. And he's like in another realm with it. I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool.
What drug do you think he was doing when he bit off Evander Holyfield's ear?
Adrenaline. Anger.
He's an absolute savage, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. But that's Tyson. But yeah, he's coming back, so I'm interested to see. I'm not really someone who watches sports, to be honest with you. But I kind of probably would watch that just be out of interest. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
O.J. Simpson was found guilty.
Okay.
This year
Right.
by a civil jury panel. So finally, he was found guilty. Got away with it for a bit.
Yeah, because we chatted about him before, haven't we?
He's come up on the last couple of episodes. He's been in and out of the news. Yeah. O.J. Simpson, guilty, as we all knew.
Yeah.
Dolly the sheep was cloned in 1997.
Yeah. In Wales. Not
in Edinburgh.
Not inside a whale, by the way. That's Wales.
No, it was in Scotland.
Near England. Oh, was it Scotland? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was in Edinburgh. This next fact will make you feel old, Gav. 1997.
Do you know why I associate Wales?
Why?
Sheep shacking.
Right, moving on.
I don't mean that. That's why my brain went there, isn't it?
So this next fact, Gav, this made me feel old when I heard this.
Yeah.
1997, a book came out called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Oh, okay.
That feels like that was only a couple of years ago.
Well, I don't remember that coming out.
You don't remember it coming out?
What, the book?
Yeah.
No? Why would I remember the book coming out?
I don't know. It's all over the place. Everyone was reading it. Not me, but that generation were reading it.
I didn't give a shit. So.
Brilliant. Well, you would have given a shit about the next thing because the Notorious B.I.G. was shot and killed.
Wow, and that was after Tupac, wasn't it?
It was a year after Tupac, yeah.
So that's kind of crazy because that was when it was all sudden. Then we got, God, this is the year of conspiracies because ever since then it's like who shot Tupac, who shot Biggie, and all that whole thing, like what happened with Diana. So 97, the year of conspiracies.
Well, and to this day, they've never found who killed Tupac or Notorious B.I.G., have they? You know, it's still ongoing. Yeah. They've only just solved Jam Master Jay's case, haven't they?
They made a movie not long ago. Johnny Depp was in it, but they didn't bring it out because apparently it's so bad. And it's him being him being a detective covering the Tupac and Biggie movie. It's made.
Oh, I thought you meant he played like Tupac.
No.
Fucking hell.
Johnny Depp playing Tupac.
Well, I wouldn't put it past him.
Oh, man. Oh, that's brilliant.
Hong Kong, we've talked about this just now, but also Hong Kong was struck down with the avian flu, the bird flu this year.
Right.
So that's, a bad thing. There we go.
Yep.
And The Simpsons obtained the record for the longest running primetime animated series in 97. So it had been going for a very long time by now, and it's still going to this day. That's crazy, isn't it?
That is pretty impressive.
Impressive. You like The Simpsons, don't you?
I do like The Simpsons, and you've never really seen The Simpsons.
I've seen it on and off. Something to do with Peter Griffin and a dog.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So let's move into what films and music were out. So the charts were pretty much the same as they were in 96. You know, Spice Girls, Radiohead, Mariah Carey, Smashing Pumpkins, all that business. We'll come on to hip hop in just a moment. Just to give you a taste of what films that were out were non-horror. This was the year of Titanic. Big film. Was it the number one highest grossing film for charts for a very, very long time? We also got a sequel to Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park The Lost World came out this year.
Right.
Men in Black, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. What a great film that is. Fun film. Fan of Men in Black, Gav?
I saw it in a cinema on a date, actually. Yeah. It was all right.
Do you like the song?
Here come the Men in Black. Yeah. Don't. That's, come on, you know you're going to open up a door for me to just fall through.
So I did it. We also got Tomorrow Never Dies. James Bond was in the cinemas again this year. I love it when a Bond film comes out.
Yeah, I wasn't really watching the Pierce Brosnan movies at this point. That's the Invisible Car, isn't it?
No, this is the one with Michelle Yeoh and.
I don't know. I've only seen them like once, maybe those ones.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to the new film coming out this year. Hopefully this year, might be next year.
What's it called? A Time to Die or something like that, or No Time to Die?
Yeah, new trailer dropped today actually.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'll have to check that out. We also got Harrison Ford was the president in Air Force One. Always a good time there. Jim Carrey was in the cinemas with Liar Liar.
Good movie. I watched that last year actually.
The Fifth Element. Great movie. Bruce Willis.
So.
We covered strippers for our first review of this episode, and there were some British male strippers in The Full Monty.
Yeah, I have seen this movie. It's on telly once.
Yeah.
It's this movie, I don't know why it is. It became extremely popular in England because this is like really pre sort of internet and stuff like that and social media. But I remember, like, it was all the mums and women were talking about it because it's men getting naked. It's a bit like, oh god, and they were all like, oh, have you seen them? I guess it's like a paler shade of grey or whatever it's called. What's it called?
Fucking hell, Gav. Do you mean 50 Shades of Grey? Yeah. A paler shade of grey. Have you seen that film, A Paler Shade of Grey? It's about a really ill person. Fucking hell.
It's about an ill alien.
That's up there with Pink Panther. That's where you get it from. You get it from your mum. Jesus Christ. We also got Arnold was in the cinemas.
Yeah.
As Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin.
Freeze, there's a freeze coming.
Freeze, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. So yeah, that was your movies that were out. Right, let me press my hip hop button. Fresh.
I don't know what that was.
So straight away cashing in on his death. We got Life After Death by the Notorious B.I.G.
I only know the first album really, so I would probably know tracks off it, but
yeah, it's all right. He completed it, but then they added a bunch of tracks in as well. It's an all right album. Wu-Tang Clan came back with their double album, Wu-Tang Forever.
Yeah, they're both quite apt album night titles, aren't they? Wu-Tang's going to keep going regardless.
Life After Death.
Yeah.
You'll be pleased to hear Jay-Z had another album out.
Oh, God, I don't like Jay-Z.
In my lifetime. I know, but I love bringing them up. We were hit with a new female rapper and producer this year called Missy Misdemeanor Elliott.
No, Missy
and she
Elliott.
dropped her album Super Duper Fly.
I don't like Missy Elliott either. See, we're into the 97. It's just going downhill.
You don't
now.
like Missy Elliott? Yeah, I was never a massive fan, but she's all right. Another group that I didn't really like, but they did really well.
The production of beats are all right on some of Missy Elliott stuff, but I just wasn't really, I don't know. She just kind of...
I like Timbaland. She was buddies with Timbaland. I like him.
I don't really know Timbaland stuff.
Another group that I was never really into, but they did really well in the 90s, was Capone and Noriega. They had an album out this year called The War Report.
See, I'm kind of out of this conversation now, Phil, you know?
Busta Rhymes dropped another album, second album. So the first album was called The Coming, as we laughed at.
This is when Disaster Strikes, is it?
Yeah, but it should have been called The Second Coming, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was called When Disaster Strikes.
Which is a good album. It's got the Knight Rider track on it.
Yeah, that's a good album, actually. Yeah, I do like that. Yeah. Mace, Puff Daddy's mate, Mace dropped a terrible album called Harlem World this year.
I don't even know it. I know it's going to be awful, yeah.
Tupac had an album out, weirdly, 2 years after he died.
Tupac kept having albums out, and it's a shame.
Called Are You Still Down? I mean... I don't really know what to say.
I don't really like him when he's alive, no offence. But
Gravediggers had their second album out, The Pick, the Sickle and the Shovel.
I don't even know of that album. I knew the first one, The Pick, the what?
The Pick, the Sickle and the Shovel.
I was about to say The Pick, the Sickle and the Shovel.
The Pickle.
The Pickle Shovel.
It's called the Truffle Shuffle, their second album.
Ickle Pickle.
KRS-One, as always, dropped his annual album with I Got Next. It's an alright album, as all of his are. EPMD were back in business with Back in Business. They famously reunited because they broke up, didn't they? And then they got back together, and their album was called Back in Business.
I love the way you did that. It's very good.
EPMD were back in business with Back in Business. Wyclef Jean.
Oh.
Wyclef Jean, sorry, brought an album out. Fuck off, Wyclef. I hate you. I'm not even going to talk about you.
See?
We talked about all the cousins of the Wu-Tang Clan. Well, this year we also got Wu-Tang Killer Army.
I don't know any of what you're saying. I feel like everybody else has had to listen to us talk through the 90s.
What about the album that Dr. Dre produced with the hip hop supergroup The Firm that came out this year with Nas and Foxy Brown?
I actually owned this.
It's all right, isn't it?
And then someone never got back, never bothered asking them for it.
It's not bad. I think we've kind of reached the end of hip hop, really.
When do we retire? Are we saying we were retiring this?
When we don't know a single person in the albums. No, I reckon sometime in the 2000s.
Oh God, I thought it'd be well before that.
I reckon around about 2001.
100. I thought 2000.
All right. Well, maybe for that we'll drop it then.
Okay.
All right. Well, as we see, the standard of hip hop has greatly reduced in 1997. This can only mean one thing, Gavin.
The return of return of horror.
Indeed. So, in horror this year, we got Scream 2.
Okay. Hot on
Just made very quickly after the first one.
Yeah, cash. This is old flower pot wanker, Weinstein. This is it. His little grubby mitts, isn't it?
Flower pot wanker. We also got I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Could be flower pot Weinstein. I might call him that for now. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah. Because that's old. So he had written 2 films that came out. Because I think he pretty much rushed to write the Scream 2 sequel. But I know what
he wrote. I Know What You Did Last Summer. I think he wrote that before Scream, didn't he? If I remember rightly.
I think so, possibly. Yeah.
We also got a guilty pleasure of mine, Wishmaster. Which
I've seen it once.
It's all right. There's about 3 or 4 of them in total.
Yeah, I bet you've seen it, haven't you?
Couple of movies we've covered. Mimic.
I love that. Mimic. Okay.
Yeah, we covered that one. That is Guillermo del Toro with the giant bugs that look like humans.
Yeah.
Great movie. We also covered An American Werewolf in Paris, which came out this year. We both are massive fans of that for some weird reason.
Yeah, and you can hear our review about 2 episodes ago.
Another movie which I really loved that came out around about the same time as Mimic was The Relic.
Oh yeah, really good
fan
movie.
Of that movie. Yeah,
I still am a fan of it. It's really a shame though that the DVD release of it was just really dark, like a fucking.
I was just about to say that. I got it on
P2 type dark, you know.
I've got X rental tape, and I just always assumed it was my copy, but then I saw it on TV, and I think it's just badly filmed with the lighting. I don't know.
It's really dark. It's a shame, actually. Good film, though.
Alien Resurrection came out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. We've covered that one too. Anaconda. J-Lo and Ice Cube.
Have we covered Anaconda? No.
No. We are covering it soon with Snakes on a Plane, though. You'll be pleased to hear.
This is Dan, your sort of territory, that is.
Snakes on a Plane, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah, but just the concept and the name title.
It's true. You're right. You're very true. Night Watch with Ewan McGregor, which nobody ever talks about, and it's a fucking brilliant movie. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I love it. It's in my collection. Why don't we cover it?
We need to cover that. Right, I'm putting it on the list.
It has to go with. Yeah, it's got to be in the same ballpark. So yeah.
Because that is a really underrated film. It's got Josh Brolin, Nick Nolte.
It's a remake, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Foreign movie.
Another movie we covered, a Christmas movie dropped in 1997, Gab. Our very first episode, we covered Jack Frost.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Killer Snowman, yeah. Keanu Reeves became a lawyer to the devil in Devil's Advocate, which I'm quite a fan of.
I've never seen
Al Pacino.
Hoo-ah! Is that Busta Rhymes?
No, that's Al Pacino.
Could Al Pacino and Busta Rhymes team up for Jimbo?
Woo-ha! Got you all in check. Okay. Woo-ha!
Okay, man.
Got you. Say hello to my woo-ha!
Woo-ha!
What else came out in 1987? I think, other than absolute dog shit bargain basement films. Those are the main ones that came out.
Right, so what's the top
Spawn.
three?
The only other one was Spawn that came out.
Okay, that's a comic one, I think.
Okay.
Graphic novel.
So,
what's your top three
take
then?
These movies back. I would say Scream 2. I know what we did last summer.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's some under, some
Relic
ones. Relic, Night Watch.
No, I'd go Scream 2, Relic, Night Watch. That'd be mine. Definitely.
Werewolf in Paris.
Oh my god! Yeah, see, there's a couple of things.
It's a good one. So we're definitely seeing horror.
I don't feel like
up a bit.
I don't remember watching Scream 2 in the cinema, but I watched. I know American Werewolf in Paris in the cinema, so that's weird.
I've seen the majority of those at the cinema because this was the
must
year
have
I had
done.
a disposable income and I was going out and I watched it.
Well, Scream 2 starts up in the cinema as well, so.
Yeah, it's got Jada Pinkett in it, hasn't it?
I'm looking forward to the fifth one.
Yeah, me too, definitely.
All right, is that us?
So there we go. That's it, really, for 1997. So there we go, guys.
Let's get out of here because we've got to
get to the end of the 90s.
Talk about another film now.
Indeed. Right, in you get.
Oh. This helmet. That's it.
How fast can you say the synopsis, Gav?
Charlie Bruce and Peter Vincent must face more vampires out for revenge.
Brilliant. You're like Buster Rhymes.
I am.
When he raps really fast.
Yeah, he does it a bit better than me, but yeah.
Amazing.
This movie's fucking great. It's only got a 5.9 on IMDb. I guess that's almost 6.
Yeah, that's pretty decent for a vampire horror movie from the 80s.
And a part 2, a sequel. Now,
yeah,
I'm a big fan of this film. This came out. I watched this as much as the other one. If in my eyes as a kid, they're kind of both mixed in together. Do you know what I mean? I think
I've never done a double bill.
Decent movies. I've never done a double bill either, actually. But I think they're both decent movies. The second one, obviously, because copies the same beats as the first one. Oh, there's someone from looking from the window. Might see something looking outside. They might be bringing a coffin in. Blah blah blah. It's the same shit. But it's fine. I don't mind that at all because it's performed well, it's directed well, it's got these new characters, which is a werewolf. We've got a werewolf, which is a decent looking werewolf in it, which is the same werewolf from Monster Squad. But all of these things make this a pretty sweet sequel. What do you think?
They're very good. What's good about this? It's a couple of things. Is the baddies are really good in this.
Yeah.
Just like in the first one, Jerry Dandridge and his little henchmen, really great baddies. And there's good baddies in this as well. They're a funny little gang. You got Brian Thompson, our Facebook friend, and his mates. You got a roller skating vampire. It's just very 80s again, but it's very cool. But the other thing I like about this, it does that Blair Witch 2 thing where it takes the first film and it kind of puts it into reality, like. Not quite to the same extent as Blair Witch 2, where it was like, oh, the first one was a film within that film. This one is like, yeah, but everything that happened in the film, come on, guys, everyone in the world knows about it, but we know that you all lost your minds for a little bit. There aren't really such a thing as vampires. So it follows on very neatly.
Yeah.
And you get this, and it makes Charlie have a much more weirder character arc, because he goes through this amazing character arc in the first one where he becomes a hero, and then in this one he throws it all away and then has to realize, actually, no, I am going to go back and fight these vampires again. And they bring back, Roddy McDowell, Charlie Brewster. It's great. And it's not very well seen. A lot of people don't even know there is a sequel to Fright Night.
I'm sure
they know.
Again, like the previous movie we reviewed, this is not on the radar. I don't hear it mentioned that often.
I never saw this as a kid. I never saw it in video stores.
You see the remake part 2?
Oh, it's terrible. The sequel.
Yeah,
the sequel is terrible.
It's a definite sort of 1 or 2 out of 10. It's a bad movie.
But this one's a well-made film. It's literally only like one mark, if you will, less for me than the first one. It's almost as good as the first one, and I would happily say my top 4 vampire 80s movies are Fright Night 1 and 2, Lost Boys, and Vamp. Like, it's as good as those others. Very, very good film. Funny, really funny at times. Great effects. That werewolf looks great. Like, we'll get into that a bit. But when he's walking out the wall and stuff like that,
it's like old school Spider-Man, isn't it?
And even like the fingernails getting caught in the window, and that's funny. There's a reason why this was hard to see, to do with the distribution, which actually is going to come up in our World of the Strange. Because it ties into a weird and tragic tale. But yeah, it certainly didn't do very well because it just wasn't being distributed or promoted. But I think it's gained a cult following. And I don't remember the first time I saw it. It wasn't very long ago, probably only about 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, really? No, I've been watching this for a long time. It's a decent film. I think it's a well-made film. Should we get on it?
Yeah, and just before we do get on it, just to let you lovely, beautiful listeners know, just like with Vamp, if you want to check out Fright Night Part 2, it is available on YouTube as at time of recording, at least.
And
so you can watch it on there.
And to be fair, no one's going to judge you for watching it off there, not like renting a copy or buying a copy, because I don't know, it might be easier to get hold of now, but it was for a long time very hard to get a hold of. You couldn't get a DVD of it. I've got a VHS copy. I've had previous VHS copies of this film, and I've sold them on eBay because I've managed to pick up multiple ones, and they go straight away because people want this movie. This
is probably one of the most, in that terms, one of the most valuable films we've reviewed, because films are films, they're available here, there, and everywhere. But this one is really hard to get hold of a physical, proper copy of. I don't think it's ever been released on DVD or Blu-ray.
I'm going to have a quick look on Amazon now, because it's going to be one of those things where we're going to be completely proven wrong. But you keep chatting away.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably on Amazon for $2.99.
Yeah, but it wasn't for a long time. It was a very hard film to get a hold of. So, like, it being on YouTube, it's a pretty good copy as well. It was good to find it on YouTube.
It's also, this film is directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, which is great.
Halloween.
Tommy Lee Wallace is affiliated with lots of horror movies. He's been in horror movies, just as background characters and things like that. He was an art director on Assault on Precinct 13. He's affiliated with Halloween. He actually directed Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. So it's got some good horror affiliation to it as well.
Yes, you can get Fright Night Part 2 on an all-region, so worldwide over, Blu-ray for 18 quid.
Oh, that's not too bad.
And a DVD for 14 quid. So it is possible to get hold of now. So we're completely wrong. But for a long time it wasn't. And I reckon this Blu-ray's probably got some special effects and shit. I feel like we're doing...
You're going to buy that?
I feel like I'm not going to buy it right now. I've got not much work at the moment, sunshine. I can't be buying fucking movies.
Sunshine.
I feel like I'm doing a Amazon podcast.
Reviewing what's available to buy on Amazon.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you're on it. But let's get on to this movie. Anyway, I don't think there really is any extras.
So we follow on. It would make a fantastic double bill, because we start off with a nice recap of the first film, like almost like a TV show, like under the last episode, and you kind of get this recap of everything that happened at the end of the first movie. And as we know, Charlie killed Jerry Dandridge, blah blah blah, all that stuff happened. So Charlie is now.
I love the flashback.
I love the flash. It's done very well.
It's done really well.
It's almost like a really cool trailer for the first one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we cut to the present day, and the film really begins with Charlie visiting his doctor, his psychiatrist. And this psychiatrist is saying, so, let me hear you say it again out loud. And Charlie says, okay, Jerry Dandridge was not a vampire. He was a serial killer. And why are you telling me that, Charlie? Because vampires don't exist. And he's like, congratulations, you've come so far. Your therapy's pretty much ended.
Yeah.
You're aware that vampires aren't real. It's brilliant. So we often talk about what happens after the end scene in a film, in a horror film especially, don't we? We always say, how do they explain that to the cops? Or what happened to this guy? And we find out here, him and Peter Vincent, have been ridiculed because they thought there was a vampire. And everyone's like, there's no such thing as vampires. It was just a serial killer, you absolute idiots. Yeah. So we find out, actually, which is what I like about this film. One of the main things I like about it is that, really.
Well, that info dump intro.
Yeah, that and the info dump.
It's really good. It's a really nice way of doing it. And I like the fact that you got underneath it, you got the score from the original film plays underneath this.
Yeah.
And I love sometimes when you get the sequel playing the same score, at least a few of the motifs from the original composition.
Indeed. Well, Jerry gets home. Not Jerry. Charlie gets home. And he has actually kept loads of vampire weapons and crucifixes. He decides, well, that's it now. It's done, so I can chuck all these away, bin everything off. I don't need any of it, which he does. And he then says he needs to go and visit Peter Vincent.
Peter Vincent.
He's got a girlfriend, doesn't he? Alex. And she's like, all right, I'll come with you.
Yeah.
Because she's been helping him through his therapy to get over his...
Alex is a strange character, she is, isn't she? As well as younger, he's quite fancy her, but she's really weird because she's been made up to look mature. Her hair's been made into look a late 20s, 30s person, which sounds weird when I'm 43 saying that. But tried to make look a lot older than she is, and the big glasses and a real sensible. And the fact that, oh my God, I fucking hate the way she speed reads. I fucking hate the way she puts her hand down Dracula. Why are you putting your hand right the fucking page? Just go from the page down. Why'd you have to have it so high? It's because I'm speed reading. You're not speed reading. Fucking penis. Sorry.
Well, I got a bit of a soft spot for her, and in fact, her and Dee Dee Pfeiffer in Vamp are two kind of hot 80s chicks.
Would you like to have an 80s sandwich? Be an 80s sandwich filler?
So, moving on. Fright Night comes on TV, and it's been filmed, and Peter is still dealing with the aftermath himself, Peter Vincent, and he goes off script, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he starts saying things like,
I love that.
He's like, and of course I am one of the ones who is responsible for defeating you. And they're like, what the fuck's he doing?
You cut to the editing, live editing bay, where they're obviously they're cutting the live cameras into the live show which is playing on, and he's got a script he's supposed to say. He's like, what the hell's he doing? What's he doing? And the cameraman's the editor's like, yeah, it's just Peter. He's just always going off script. And he's like, that's not what we plan. Oh my God! And he's so pissing the producers off all the time, which does actually make for his demise of his TV show, though, because he pisses off the producers. But yeah, he goes off script.
He says something like, and the next film we're showing, which I am not in.
Yeah.
I wasn't in this one, and he's really annoyed.
Unfortunately, he is going to be like, he's a more gentle version of it, but you're going to be like, there's going to be some people in America and people in entertainment who are doing stuff, and then their careers start to go, and then they're kind of a bit like resentful and stubborn, and he is playing this character like going, well, I wasn't in this movie, but we're now going to play a film, because it used to be all these movies, and you can understand how that would piss you off, though.
Yeah. And obviously he's had all this ridicule of this situation that happened in the first film as well, so his reputation and his career is
I think that's what actually ends up happening, isn't it, which really sort of does his career in.
Yep. Well, he's gonna be replaced later on in the film.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So Charlie and Alex visit Peter, and he clearly still believes in vampires.
Well, Charlie hasn't. Charlie says though, like they could go and visit Vincent, Peter, and they're just like, we haven't visited him for years. He says to Shrink, I haven't visited him for a couple of years. I should go and visit him, and they go, right, let's go visit him. And yeah, he's still very much living in that world, which is funny because he ends up persuading. Later on, he ends up persuading Charlie. Persuaded by Charlie at the club. It's just fangs. Oh, they're not real. It's just fangs. And it's funny because it turns later on. It's interesting.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, while they're in his apartment, because he lives in a huge apartment building with lots of apartments within it, and he has some new neighbours move in, who Charlie spies out the window. These new neighbours are bringing in big wooden boxes, and they look very strange. They've got blacked out windows in their car.
Yeah.
And he gets the old sort of, vampires. No, it can't be. And he sort of, there's a little instinct in him, but he thinks, no, I'm not going to say anything. So they leave. And as they leave, they bump into these neighbours, who is Brian Thompson, Bosworth, huge guy, his werewolf buddy, Louis,
yep,
and two girls who are probably vampires as well. And they all kind of stare at him, and it's all, we know where this is going, but obviously Charlie doesn't. He's like, oh man, come on, not again.
And yeah, it's a throwback from the first movie. It's basically Die Hard 2, isn't it?
How can the same shit happen to the same guy 2 times in a row?
Exactly.
They get home, Charlie and Alex, and there is a point of view, a POV shot of a bat swooping down, isn't there?
Yeah.
They're parked in the car.
Doing a bit of canoodling, aren't they?
Well, he's getting a bit too frisky, isn't he?
He's basically got a teenage boner, and he wants to, get frisky.
And what they don't know is that this bat has landed on top of the car and turned into a vampire. And it's lying on top of the car, sort of like chilling out.
Very seductive, and somehow giving him mind telepathy of like just getting him to seduce her and touch her and do more things than he innocently should do.
Yeah, she kind of, I don't know if she hypnotised him in the lobby or something, but she definitely gets in his mind. But also, she's getting off on the sexual activity that's going on in the car as well.
It's the classic Dracula, though, isn't it? Type of thing to do, taking over the mind. It's like Jedi mind trick type of thing.
Yeah, well, Alex gets out. She's annoyed.
Yeah.
She gets out of the car, and as she goes back to her apartment, she's being watched.
Yeah, and she gets followed.
Something flies past her window. She lives in the creepiest place I've ever seen, where you have to walk up a dirt road, then through a forest, and then like to this apartment block. It's pretty damn creepy.
Yeah.
Now, I got confused at one point because I thought this was Alex that gets attacked, but it's actually another girl in her apartment block, isn't there?
Yeah.
And this girl does the classic, I'm just going to stop and tie my shoelaces. When she gets up, she hears some fingernails.
Well, this is the thing is, you got to think of the location of this. This is like in a school corridor.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I'm like, where does she live?
It's really weird, and like basically an art student gets killed by a roller skating gender fluid vampire.
I love that synopsis. Now that synopsis would make any film. An art student is killed by a gender fluid roller skating vampire.
Yeah.
And then me and you go into a review of it. I just want to see that film.
It's a weird scene, and it's kind of almost hypnotic a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't what this woman was expecting when she went to do a shoelace up. That's for sure.
No, and this gender fluid vampire flies in slow motion, eyes wide, on roller skates towards her, and then we just see her art project, and then she gets a lot more red on it than she wanted. I expect, doesn't she?
Yes.
Very arty. That's that. She's been bitten.
We then get pretty much a Ted Bundy style werewolf pervert looking in dormitories of the girls. Ted Bundy
werewolf pervert.
That's the movie I want to see.
Yeah, he is looking at boobs in the windows, isn't he?
Yeah. It's like Ted Bundy having a wank outside the dorms.
So, like you said, but it's more terrifying than Ted Bundy because he's got Spider-Man's powers of climbing up walls, but he's actually a werewolf as well.
Only 70s Spider-Man when the floor's on the wall and the camera's at the side. And you just crawl along the floor.
Like Batman and Robin used to climb up on a rope.
Can me and you do a promo video for this podcast and we do that?
Just get a hose pipe.
And we just roll up the building. We roll up it.
Just have a trap door. Like a window, and someone pops out and goes, "Hey, what are you two doing?"
We fall out of it and we roll towards the camera, really badly.
Oh, World of the Strange.
We can do this, by the way. I have a big green screen and a camera.
We can do this.
We can literally do this.
Well, we get a taste of the comedy in this movie here because the werewolf starts trying to creep in through the window of this girl with her boobs, and she just casually, it's a bit of a carry-on sort of almost moment. She goes over and she just slams the window down on his fingernails, and he just falls down.
We get the sound effect of an airplane crashing to the floor.
He falls down, and Brian's there, and he's like, "Oh dear," and he's really like always ridiculing him. They're like a little comedy duo, these two, aren't they?
Yeah, and Brian's just another familiar, isn't he? He's basically he's again the big white shirted guy, same as the other movie.
Yeah, and he eats bugs.
Yeah,
He says like the genus of the bug, doesn't he, before he eats it? Like he
does.
spots a moth at one point and eats that. And so we don't really know too much about what's going on, other than they seem to be stalking these girls. One of them is a werewolf, and the other one seems to be eating bugs, and he looks like he could be a vampire. That's all we kind of know at this point. Now, Charlie's in bed, and he has a bit of a weird night here because there's a knock on his door. And he's like, "Oh, who the fuck is this? It must be Alex." And he opens the door, and it's a woman, a very beautiful, seductive woman. And she says, "I'm looking for Charlie." And he's like, "Oh, that's me." But then she gives a different surname.
I want it to be you with a wig on and a dress and makeup at the door.
"I'm looking for Charlie."
God, this is so scary.
With a beard.
Don't ring me up and say that in the middle of the night.
Well, he says, "I'm Charlie. I'm Charlie Brewster." And she said, "Oh, sorry, wrong Charlie. I'm looking for a different Charlie." And he's like, "Oh,
Charlie Cassidy." But you're not Charlie Cassidy.
Wrong door.
Yeah. I've seen Fright 2 a lot of times. I reckon with Vamp, I don't know which one the most, but I've seen them both a lot.
Well, as she begins to walk off, she then stops and says, "Could I trouble you for a light?" Yeah. And he's like, he's thinking, "I know where this is going. So he says, "Yeah, come on in."
Yeah,
so he lets her come in.
The fact he's been a bit of a naughty boy in the first place, sort of saying that he should just probably say, "No, I haven't got a light."
And I've got a girlfriend, goodbye.
That's what I've got a light, you can't come in. And she's like, "Can I trouble you for a cup of coffee?" Like, oh god, and she doesn't even drink the coffee because she tries it on.
Yeah, because straight away she then says,
straight away,
"You've got very nice lips, Charlie."
I like the fact.
Do you know?
Go on. How to use
them. Go on. Yeah, do you know how to use your lips, Charlie? And it's like, what a line.
Straight in there. That's within a couple of minutes because he's got the coffee in the pot already. He's got a Predator picture on his walls. Now, we
can forgive him for cheating on Alex a bit because he's clearly under the hypnotic spell of a vampire. But
okay, I'll give you that.
But even so, you're like, come on, dude.
Would Alice be alright with you if you got back and said, "I did kiss someone tonight, but they were a vampire"?
No, she wouldn't. She'd fucking stake me.
She would.
Even if I wasn't a vampire.
She would stake you anyway. That's what I was thinking.
Well, they kiss.
She fangs out though, doesn't
she? Yeah, and she gets some lovely looking eyes as well, little vampires.
Yeah. But he
wakes up and it was all a nightmare.
It's all like a little dream, wasn't it?
But then someone is knocking on the door.
Knock, knock, knock.
So he grabs his crucifix. I love the way we're playing that. Knock, knock, knock. So he grabs his crucifix. Oh, it's Alex.
Yeah, and he hides his crucifix before she sees because she would think like, "What are you doing? You don't think of vampires anymore." So obviously he's just thinking, "Oh God, my mind's mentally relapsing to like this silly thing." I guess he's thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, he's starting to feel a bit ill, isn't he? Like he's definitely under the spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not doing great. Now, the girl, the student from earlier, her body is in the back of this car, and we've got the two vampire girls who are just devouring her. The werewolf guy's like, "Can I get a taste?"
Yeah. It's like, can I get a bite? Yeah.
Brian's not interested though. Brian just wants to eat a
He
moth.
likes his insects. Leave him alone.
He's a vegetarian vampire.
Leave him alone. He doesn't. Well, he's freaked out later on by getting the head in the bowling alley, isn't he? He really doesn't like it. So it's a bit like, does he not kill? You know?
It's weird. It really is quite strange. Well, Alex and Charlie are in bed. She crawls in his bed. Now, it looks like they probably haven't had sex really in their relationship yet.
It does still feel very innocent, like his last relationship. He doesn't have much luck, does he?
Yeah. Now, he cut his neck earlier when he was shaving, and as he falls asleep, she sort of looks at this Band-Aid on his neck and pulls it up, and there's a bit of blood coming out of it, isn't there? And she's thinking at this point, vampires?
No, she's not. No, she's not. She's just thinking that's a bit odd.
I don't know.
She's not thinking vampires. No way. She's way too sensible. I'm sensible. Look at my mature hair and big fucking 80s glasses.
It's because she's supposed to be like a law student, isn't she? So she's supposed to be portraying this. Yeah. Well, in the morning, Alex is fucked off, and Charlie, he wakes up and the sunlight's hurting his eyes. Oh dear, what can this mean?
It's like Lost Boys.
It is very Lost Boys.
He goes to see his shrink. On. Yeah.
And he goes to see his shrink, and he's in his sunglasses, and the shrink's like, "All right, I'll just give you a ton of sleeping pills. Here you go."
I'll just push meds on you.
He gives him loads. He's like, "Which ones do you want? Take them all."
He's a fucking pusher.
And then he says, "Take all of these. Oh, and go bowling."
Bowling? So
I don't know why. Imagine going to the doctor.
I'm not sure, but
really bad back. Try bowling.
I tell you why. Because when they were making this film, they went, "Oh, we've got a bowling alley we can use. Can you write a bowling alley into the script?" I mean, you could probably do it twice, actually. Okay, brilliant.
Get two scenes in
because you've got two scenes in the same bowling alley, which is like, well, that's strange. Yeah, Alex walks past, sees him, goes down and says, "What are you going?" The doctor said bowling. You should try it sometime, Alex. It's all right. And then she's like, "I've got some tickets for an opera later. Would you like to come along?" And he's like, "I suppose, okay then." It's like, oh my god.
He's a bit of a prick to her. He's like, "Oh,
yeah,
really?"
It is opera though.
Yeah, but come on.
Yeah, come on.
You do things for your girlfriend.
Opera.
You do opera. She does go and watches a John Carpenter with me at the cinema or something. Do you know what I mean?
Or gives
give and take.
Gives you a rim job or something.
Okay.
Go on.
Well, he doesn't go to the opera because he wakes up too late. He slept in, and he's running late as it is. So he's like, "Fuck, I'm going to be late."
He's doing that kind of vampire thing, having a little bit of a long siesta, really, isn't he?
Indeed, and he bumps into his mate Richie.
Yeah.
Who doesn't really get introduced until now, really.
He does have a little part earlier, but it's very brief. He just says something, and he runs out of the dorm. Yeah.
His buddy Richie is now hanging out with Brian Thompson and his vampire werewolf gang for some reason, and he's like, "What the hell?"
Richie's character definitely did cocaine in the 80s.
Oh my god. He's wearing a Kangol cap, a long coat. He looks like his blood is made of cocaine.
Yeah.
So Charlie stands up Alex because he follows Richie back to the apartment block that Peter Vincent lives in, that these crazy neighbours live in.
What a coincidence.
And he sees...
But I guess it's not a coincidence, is it? Because they've gone there because of Peter Vincent.
Yeah. And he sees through the window that Richie seems to be having a bit of a threesome with two girls. They seem to be rubbing him. And
one girl and one fluid gender person.
Okay, yeah. A fluid gender person and a girl. And they look like one of them's about to go down on him and the other one's about to kiss him. But they actually just seem to be taking massive bites out of him as vampires.
And obviously this is a callback from the first movie.
Indeed. Now, while he's spying on them, on this vampire threesome, Alex is waiting at the opera, and who should turn up? The werewolf.
Pervert werewolf. He has turned up, and he manages to get in there straight away. He's got a suit on with his little long hair, but he gets in there straight away, and he sort of dances his way in there, and goes in to sit in. Excuse me, if you've got a spare ticket, I'd happily buy one off you.
She's like, you're in luck, because I've been stood up. And he's like, oh, what kind of a guy would stand a beauty like you up?
Yeah, and so he's like, later on, Brian says to him, like, you know, you're supposed to kill them. He goes, well, what's wrong with a bit of old-fashioned sex, eh? Like, he's trying to actually get in there with her. Which is...
I mean, he's an animal. He's a werewolf, so I guess
he's horny.
A little bit. Yeah. His long hair really is shit. And it reminds me of the ice cream guy from Phantasm as well. You know, when Reggie's got his long hair and he's bald on top?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, fucking cut that shit off. What are you playing at? I guess he pulls it off. He's a werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got in there. He's going to go in and watch the opera with her. So he's wheeling his way in there. So Richie's blindfolded, he's bitten, and Charlie says to himself, this is not a dream. This is not a dream.
So what's the best thing to do? Go see your old pal Peter Vincent, Vampire Hunter.
Tell him about it.
And doesn't believe him.
No, Peter...
So you expected him to. We expect him to, like we were saying earlier, and he doesn't believe him. So poor Charlie's a little bit... doesn't know what to do.
I don't know why he doesn't believe him, though. There's no real reason why he doesn't.
I know, because, as we were saying, he's already got a thing going on with this whole vampire mythos that he's still kind of in some, memory of it, at least, and he's aware of it actually happening. So, don't know. Strange that he would then all of a sudden go... or he's doing that just for his persona to make his character and everything, keeping that going. But then when it comes to it, it's like, actually, I don't want to be involved with this. It's not. No. Don't know. Strange.
Well, they go to the apartment where they saw the apparent attack, and they get there, and it's a fancy dress party. There's bowls of fake fangs and teeth. They find Richie sort of half asleep in a drug comatose, I would say, lying on the couch, and he sort of just pulls his collar back, doesn't he, to see if there's any bite marks. And Richie wakes up, and he's like, what does he say to him?
It's not the right thing to do, Brewster.
Quite a homophobic comment, but I guess it was the 80s.
But, yeah, but he's not saying that, though, is he? He's saying that's not the right thing to do, is to look around at me and what's going on here, because you're going to get hurt. I don't think he's aware of the intentions of the head vampires and his involvement. I think he's just been turned, and he's like, that's the wrong thing to do, Brewster.
I thought he was implying that Charlie was going to maybe give him a little kiss.
No, because Charlie's looking for bites, and he knows that.
I know that. Why? Okay.
I like when they get to the party and they're greeted by the dude who's just got some fangs on. He goes, ah, and Vincent's like, ah. And he's like, oh, don't get carried away, guys. He pulls out a cross and puts it into his face. So don't get carried away, guys. And they go to that massive bowl of fake fangs. It's so funny.
And he says, it's all an act. It's fancy dress. Well, as they leave, Charlie sees the girl that he kissed in his dream, and they just go straight into this performance. It may
as well get her and Grace Jones to have a performance off and have a battle.
Because he sees her, and then the music changes, and they just go whoosh, into this prearranged, orchestrated, choreographed dance. Everyone's watching, and she's hypnotizing him. She vamps out a bit. And it's fucking weird performance art.
I'll tell you what would have been better of this is to have done almost like a trope on Blade at the beginning in the nightclub. What you could have done with this, though, is have her dance, hypnotises everybody in there. And that would have been really good.
And then taking them all to the Grace Jones strip club.
Yeah.
With the Japanese guys waiting for them all. Duncan's just hammered.
I love Duncan.
I love Duncan too. So then it's revealed she's a performance artist. It's all makeup and effects. It's what she does. Don't worry about it. It's all cool. So they leave. And what happens next? They go and see Alex, don't they?
Yeah, it's performance. No, because they're about to go, and then we have another call back to basically taking the policeman round to the original vampires layer, and then Peter Vincent looks in his mirror and sees there's no reflection upon Larry Dandridge, and this is when he does it again, and he sees there's no reflection again.
That's right.
And he goes, what the fuck?
Reflection.
And he gets back to his apartment very quickly because it's in the same block, so that's one thing. And he gets back to his apartment and goes into his little weird room, which is made with he's got a big cross, and it's all like, what is this little room that he goes into? It's funny, isn't it? You remember?
That's right, because Charlie pisses off because he suddenly remembers, I've left Alex at the opera. That's right.
Yeah,
so he buggers off. And Peter's like, hey, I'm just going to stay at this party. Why would you stay there? You're like 40 years older than anybody there.
Yeah,
but cool, man, if you want to do that.
Yeah, and just before Peter sees there's no reflection, he looks around and sees a couple of people being bitten, but he doesn't think it is. He thinks that they're being kissed on the neck or something's going on. You know, it is the 80s.
But then Regina, the main vampire, corners him.
Yeah.
And she admits that she is a vampire.
And Jerry Dandridge's sister.
Basically says, she just opens up to him like, oh, I'm going to kill you, by the way. And I'm going to kill Charlie
too. Yeah. So at that point, then he's like,
fucking hell.
Because she obviously realises that he's clocked on what's going on. And he runs back to his apartment. She
turns into a bat.
Yeah, and Charlie gets to the opera late, obviously.
Yeah, a bit too late there. Is Alex is waiting for him, and she's with the wolf guy.
Yeah, and she gets walked home. He walks her home and says, "Look, I think he's the dude who didn't come to stood you up as a dick, basically." And she says, "What are you doing now?" Yeah, what are you doing now? Well, and it's back to the library, isn't it? What are you doing now? I'm just going to work out. I'll tell you what, if he doesn't come back, blah, blah, blah. Is that now?
Yeah, it's around about now. And we get this great bit where he's walking her home, and that dog starts growling at him.
Yeah.
And then he turns around to the dog. She doesn't see his face, and he completely wolfs out.
He has it.
And just goes back to the dog, and the dog's like, and then he's like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
You totally do that if you're a werewolf. You like, if a dog barks, you just be like.
The day breaks, and old Vincent comes out of his little crucifix room, and he goes to find Charlie because it's daytime. But he goes before he does it. He goes to his TV production company, and he has been replaced. He's been fired.
He's been replaced by Regina.
Indeed.
We probably missed a bit out actually, where Charlie is very tired and confused and lying in bed, and a vapor comes in his window while he's asleep, and it's Regina, and she gets into his bed and takes off his plaster on his neck and sucks his blood.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that in my notes. I do apologise.
Yeah. Well, he tries to get back in Alex's good books the next day because he just shows up behind her with a bunch of roses and says, like, I'm really sorry. And she is fucking fuming, as you can imagine. She's been stood up.
Yeah.
And this is the bit where Peter gets fired, because we've now been introduced to Regina a couple of times, and Peter's like, what do you mean I've been fired? And like, we've got a replacement, here she is. And we get Regina, and she does this whole again on telly.
But
I'd rather watch Peter Vincent introduce a horror movie than
like
that.
I said, what's she going to do? The same performance every night? If not, it's going to take a lot of working out every day. Or do you work out each day? And it could get to the point where everyone's like, I'm bored of this boring shit. Let's just get like...
She does this every Thursday night.
Yeah.
I just want them to show Super Shark, but I've got to wait for this.
She's more like a guest that comes on and does that performance and goes. That's, weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you say, Peter runs to tell Charlie, it's happening again. He tells them there was no reflection.
Was he Donald Sutherland?
It's happening again! Hoo-ha! It's happening again! Hey, man, it's happening again. I'm Nicolas Cage. So... You do the better Buster Rhymes impression.
Ooh, no, I'm not going to do it now.
No, from Halloween.
I can't even remember what it was. Mikey! Hey, Mikey! Oh, that's it. Mikey! What the fuck are you doing in here, Mikey? Get downstairs! Yeah, that's Mikey, yeah.
Oh, Buster Rhymes was in a Halloween movie.
That's so funny. Should we cover that? Should we cover that at some point?
We are covering the Halloweens, actually, at some point.
What, we're going to go through the franchise?
Yeah, we've got, so just as a segue, we will soon be covering Halloween 2 and Friday the 3rd, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. And every now and again, we'll come back and do 3 of both of them, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8. So we're going to work our way through the
That's
nightmares.
going to take us
paired up with the
forever.
Halloweens.
We should just do for a joke episode maybe sometime. We could do a commentary track for that Halloween.
We could do a
Buster
commentary track
Rhymes.
for that would be fun to do.
Yeah.
That would be very fun to do. So, yes, Alex says to Peter, look, don't come around here with your crazy nonsense.
She doesn't say to
Charlie
Peter, she says to Charlie.
No such thing. No, she tells Peter to go away.
Oh, because Peter comes, that's right. And he just goes, what? And walks off, that's right, yeah. And then...
Go on.
No, go on.
Charlie starts looking at girls' necks. Licking his lips.
Before this, you did have the bit where Charlie was a bit weird, and he goes to apologise after the night before of the opera, and he gets there, and he goes a bit weird, and he says to read Dracula. Have you read Dracula? It's a great book, Alex, a great book. Almost went into
He's
a
very
bit of
passionate about it, isn't
Al
he?
Pacino then. A great book. It's a great... No, I can't do it. Anyway, yeah, so Charlie's looking at necks and he gets a pizza, but the woman says, my special ingredient, garlic. I'm going Al Pacino.
Why is Al Pacino serving the pizza? This pizza,
my special ingredient, garlic. See, I don't even sound like him.
The ice is going to break.
The ice is going to break.
Garlic is on the pizza. So this is just
come on,
gone to pot. So he eats the pizza. It's got garlic on it, and it makes him ill.
My face is aching from smiling. Right, come on, back on go. Come on, you're a professional. Come on.
While he's choking on the garlic, he runs off and he sees Richie on the TV has been found dead.
Brown bread.
Dead ski. So he follows Brian down into the basement of the apartment block, and he's hiding in there, and he sees him eating a cockroach, doesn't he? And he finds a coffin.
Yep.
And there's a vampire in the coffin.
Yes.
So he grabs a steak, and it's Regine that's in the coffin.
Yep.
And he goes to kill her, but she just opens her eyes up and just hypnotizes him.
She pulls a mind trick.
So the lid gets closed, and she lives to live another day.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Alex is doing Gav's favourite bit. She's in the library speed reading Gav.
I've got a note that says, Alex reading Dracula like a twat.
So she basically is so intelligent, she goes to the library and grabs a load of books on vampires and Nosferatu and Dracula.
No,
she starts speeding.
She just goes one book on Dracula. She reads the Bram Stoker novel.
The only movie that I will allow speed reading in is Short Circuit, where Johnny Five
Input, Stephanie, input.
Need input. Number 5 is alive. But in this, she's just sort of doing this weird sort of... It's almost like she's trying to read it with her hand.
It's so... It's just like really overcompensating. It's really like over the top, like pushing the hand up a book and come down, then come down. I speed read. I'm clever. Look at me go. What a twat.
Well, while she's doing this, Louis the werewolf comes in. And he says, I'll hang around here again. So he's kind of stalking her by this point.
He is
you scared me.
Stalking now, yeah.
And he's like, I was just in the area. If your boyfriend doesn't show up, I'd like to, hang out with you again.
Like, don't worry, he's going to. Well, if he doesn't, okay.
Get the message, werewolf. Jesus Christ. I'll let you walk me home. I'll let you come to the opera with me. That's it.
This happens though, doesn't it? It's like a female is nice to a male in the youth ages. Well, actually, I suppose it still happens now. And as soon as you just do that nicety, it's opening a door for a load of stalker abuse or whatever it is.
Creepy werewolf. Well, he says, look, I'm gonna go bowling with my buddies, so I'll be back later, and if your boyfriend's not here, me and you. She's like, whatever, I'm gonna speed read the rest of Dracula. So she carries on doing that. It's such a weird story, but I love it. So Louis goes bowling with Bosworth, Brian, and the Vamp girls. Or the Vamp transgender person and the Vamp girl.
Yes, and yeah, and it's with a rock and roll montage going on with music over the top.
Vampire. My notes say vampire bowling montage.
Yeah, that's
because the staff are kind of like, we're kind of closing now, and they're like, nah, and they just kill the staff. And they have a really good, and they look like they're having a great time. You know, they're bowling it between their legs. The girl on the roller skates is like smashing into the pins. And werewolf guy throws himself down there. They're having a great time. 2 balls at a time.
It's
a
typical 80s comical montage, isn't it? You're saying imagine being there.
Yeah, imagine if you had the run of a bowling alley. You'd just do all sorts, wouldn't you? You'd throw bottles down there.
I would throw. I would. No offense, I'd try throwing you. If it's just me and you, I'd say, "Do you mind if I can try and slide you and bowl you down it?"
If I had your skateboard and a crash helmet on, I'd
that'd be decent. That'd be well good. I'd do that too.
Surprised Jackass never did that. Actually,
I think they probably did.
Me on one of your skateboards with a crash helmet on, you can just throw me down there as quickly as you can, and I'll smash head first into them. See if we can get a strike.
Yeah,
that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
I went skating the other day. I went to a new skate park not far from me. I took the kids out. They wanted to go skating. I was like, nice. And I was doing a couple of little tricks, and it wasn't too bad. And I was trying to teach this other guy. He's like 15. There's me and him hanging out. That's why I'm like fucking Tim off Spaced. Anyway, I was trying to show him how to volley out this pole. I was like, I just got to hit it like that and just go faster. And I told him to go faster. And he went up and his fucking skateboard went flying in the air and fucking hit Elijah in the face.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ.
And I was like, oh God. And he was going, I'm so sorry. It's all right, don't worry about it. Elijah's crying away. And I was like, so you'll be all right, Elijah. It's just a tail. You'll be fine. It's not a truck.
Just a skateboard in the face.
Well, no, it had been bad if it were a truck, but it was just the tail, so.
Oh.
I know. Anyway.
Well, so they're bowling. And Louis, the werewolf, plays a trick on Bosworth where he has beheaded, because they're drinking out of one of the staff members who's like lying there without his head on. And then the ball comes out of the little bit where the balls pop out, and it's the guy's head. And for some reason, how does Brian react here, Gav? He goes mental, doesn't he?
He gets really angry about the fact that he's been duped into this head, and he just really doesn't like it. He's like, and it's just like, that's so weird.
Yeah, but then it escalates into like a bro fight, because they have like a proper little bro off, don't they? Where they're like, they have like a little pretend fight.
Yeah, and the werewolf's going at him.
Yeah, I know.
It's weird. We do cut to Fright Night, the first performance of Regina on a TV show. It comes on.
And Peter's in a bar drinking his sorrows
away. Indeed.
And this guy's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Peter Vincent. I'm a vampire killer."
Say what, man? Are you hard of hearing, sir? I'm Peter Vincent, vampire killer.
I kill vampires.
He's like, okay, dude.
Cut back to Charlie and Alex having dinner in the library. Little date. And they've got a TV on in there, because it's the 80s. He's got a little portable television, and they're watching. He's like, I just want to see the new host, Regina. Oh my God, Regina, that's that girl. Oh, she does another weird performance dance.
Yep.
And they're like, the makeup's amazing. The special effects are really good, aren't they? And she vamps out, turns into smoke. So it all looks great. If you were in the studio filming that, you'd be like, well, hang on a minute. How's she done that then? Because we haven't got any special effects guys in. So unless she's like a genius as well as a performance artist, how's she doing all of this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they've just accepted it. They've just got this like great woman who comes in and vanishes.
Well, in the live performance at the apartment party, in the apartment block, she, at the end of it, she pretends to take teeth out and contact lenses out and hands them to the gender fluid vampire. And puts them in the hand. They pretend, and obviously it's made up. It's not really, and they walk off with them with whatever's in their hands. So I guess they probably pulled something like that afterwards. I don't know.
Well, Charlie's very impressed that Alex has read Dracula.
You've read Dracula?
She's like, yes.
Oh, the scene.
Yeah. He goes ape shit. He loves it. But it'd be like me coming in and finding out that Alice has watched, I don't know, one of the John Carpenter movies. Like, if I got in and she was just coming up to the end of Big Trouble in Little China, I'd be like, what? Have you watched this? She's like, oh yeah, I loved it. It was brilliant. I'd have been acting like this. I'd have been going crazy. What? This is amazing.
Our relationship's gone to the next level, the next plateau.
Finally, you get me. So at one point, Charlie buggers off just for a moment. I can't remember where he goes to, and Louis the werewolf shows up.
Of course he does.
And again starts harassing Alex. Charlie steps in and says, get back off. And he wolfs out, so they run off. He stalks them through the library. They start knocking over shelves and books. He completely wolfs out and starts trying to attack them. However, Alex shoves roses in his mouth. Now, roses
is that an old school thing?
It is. Garlic, roses, and there's a couple of other flowers that wolfsbane is another one that werewolves are allergic to, and this is one of the rarest. This is the only time really it's ever been shown in film, I think, if I remember rightly. She shoves roses in his mouth. It makes him very ill.
It's really interesting. Well, it makes him ill. It's like acid being in his face. It makes him sort of just melt, really.
So he jumps out the window.
Yeah.
And I love the bit where then, as that happens, Charlie looks at Alex and he says, "That was not group hypnosis."
Yeah. And then we cut to Vincent trying to attack Regime at the studio.
Oh my God, this is brilliant. So this is like him now. So he's been fired. He had that thing that happened in the previous film where people are a bit worried about his mentality anyway. And then live on TV, he just goes flying at the host who's replaced him from the job he got fired at and tries to kill her live on air.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
We get two lots of police now. Some of the police arrive at the library to find out what the disturbance was, but also the police arrest Peter.
Yep.
And they've both been arrested separately. A psychiatrist comes along and bails out Alex. Charlie's already been bailed out by a woman, though.
Yeah, it's weird that Alex phones Charlie's psychiatrist.
I suppose she thinks, shit, these guys need help again. I better. There's one guy that's dealing with their case. So.
But old Peter gets taken to state hospital.
Yeah, Peter's already left. What do you mean?
He's
taken to an institution.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Well, Alex and the shrink. Now, I'd forgotten about this bit.
Got the train crossing.
They're right. Yeah, so they're driving off in the car and they stop at some tracks.
Because there's not a train.
The lights to change.
There's not a train coming. It's a trick, isn't it? It's a vampire
she
trick.
says, "I don't think there's a train coming." And he turns around and he is a vamp.
You
so
can't see this. I'm going. I look a bit like Mr. Bean at the moment as a vampire. There you go.
Mr. Bean. No. Now, this means that
what's the sounds
the
Mr. Bean
whole
makes when he has sex, Dan? No, that's I don't know what I thought it was going to be. That's better.
That's the
is that when Al Pacino ejaculates?
Yeah.
Woo-ha!
So listen, the psychiatrist is a vampire, which means the whole time Charlie's been going to him for help. He's been convincing him there's no such thing as vampires. There's no such thing as vampires. That's because he himself is one and wants to keep it a secret from the general public. So it's all a massive conspiracy with the vamps.
Yeah, like the other movie.
Yes, they're hiding it.
Yeah.
The vamps don't want to be
Both
known.
of these movies are extremely well paired. We seem to keep doing this, by the way.
They could take place in the same universe, couldn't they?
Absolutely.
So he vamps out. He runs off. And
she kills
what does
him.
he say?
She runs.
Oh, yeah, that's
off,
right. She
and
stakes him.
He comes along and she stakes him, but she and he's like, "Oh, that really hurt quite a lot. Could you push it a bit further, please?" And she's like, "No." And he goes, "Okay,
really funny.
I can do this myself." And he falls down onto it.
He says, "This actually feels pretty terrible."
Yeah.
It's like that scene in Austin Powers where Will Ferrell, with the fez on his head, sort of hurts himself, and they think he's dead, and he goes, "I'm still alive. I'm in quite a lot of pain.
Yeah.
I'm quite badly burnt." And then you think he's dead again, and then he goes, "Hello, I'm still alive."
Yeah.
It keeps going on and on. Eventually, there, like you said, he tops himself. Thank God.
Alex steals the dead doctor's ID and goes to get Peter Vincent out. Basically, the shrink was going to do it. Well, I don't know what the shrink was going to do, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how he could have got someone out. But she goes in and just pulls the
She's pretty
one.
badass in this scene. I know you don't like her character.
No, she does. She plays her character well. It's just a bit like, oh god, you know. Do you know what I mean? I hate that kind of. But at this point here, it comes into play of why her character is like that. So I can't diss it really, you know.
Well, he when he gets in there, he says, "I'm Peter Vincent, the famous vampire hunter," and some of the inmates are like, "Yeah, I know you," and they're all a bit crazy. So when she's starting to help him escape, one of them pulls a fire alarm because he's like, "You can go and kill the vampires now." Woo!
Hey, Mr. Vincent, so you can go kill the vampires now.
So they go and get some. They go to a church and they get some holy water and a special robe. I've never seen this used before.
Basically doing the Lost Boys tool up session here.
Yeah, the Lost Boys tool up session. I love that. We should mention that Charlie, Brian, and Regine all arrive back at their apartment while all this is going on.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on there. And the vampire girls start bathing Charlie. And it looks like they're going to fully turn him, doesn't it? Ooh. Either that or he's just going to get a crazy threesome. Now, Peter and Alex, they grab all these weapons. He goes there, he starts grabbing props from his apartment. I like the way he's naming all the films when he picks stuff up. He's like, oh, that's from the brain that lived. Or this one is from the Night of the Living Creeps. And he starts saying all these different films that he picks up, like guns and crucifixes and stakes and stuff.
You can say to him, you got props, Peter. You got props.
Props to you. Now, Gav, can you explain why the fuck this next bit happens? Why the fuck does an old man and a law student decide the easiest way into this building is to fucking climb up a 20-story building like Spider-Man and in for a minute? Why don't they just take the fucking lift or go up the stairs?
I haven't even got this on my notes, and I think it's probably so ludicrous that I didn't even clock it.
It's insane. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
so they climb in.
Peter Vincent climbing up a wall. That's not going to happen.
He's an old man. Why is he doing that? And they get up there and they're carrying all the fucking weapons with them as well.
I didn't even think of it, man. I didn't even think of it. But they go in and Richie's there, isn't they? Climbing Richie's window.
Yeah, they see Richie.
I didn't even think of it. Next time I watch that, I'm going to be like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Why did they go that way?
Yeah.
Well, they get to hide behind the curtains anyway. And Richie comes in and wakes up Charlie because they see Charlie's asleep on the sofa. Richie comes in and they're watching, and he's a vampire, and he's like, "Hey, come on, man, wake up," or something, whatever he says. Then he goes back out of the room, and then Peter and Alex come out from behind the curtains. Just as they come out and start waking up Charlie, Richie comes back in and catches them. So they squirt him with holy water.
Holy shit.
And he starts to disintegrate.
They don't spray him with holy shit. I was just saying holy shit.
I sprayed the toilet with holy shit in my story earlier about that club I was in.
I didn't know how to go from that. When you just started going back on with the review, I was like, that review feels really tame now after that, what you just said. I feel so bad for that cleaner. Just to recap on your...
It was a very long time ago. It's probably the worst thing I've ever done in a club.
Peter goes, they're planning on going back out the window, and Spider-Man Peter Vincent's going to, I don't know, climb back down the window.
Why do they do it?
Why is he going to climb back down?
A law student, a very weak guy who's half vampire, and an old man with a bag full of props. Let's go out the window.
Let's climb back down. But unfortunately, there's a werewolf out there.
Well, Charlie starts vamping out, first of all. So they put the holy robe around him. I don't know what this holy robe is.
No,
is it like the priest's cape or something?
I don't know.
But we accept it because the roses in the mouth.
We accept it like Peter Vincent's just climbed up the building. I couldn't climb up the building, you know.
The werewolf, like you said, as Peter climbs out the window, this is like a scene from a Spider-Man movie, because as Peter's climbing out the window, the werewolf's upside down above him, and he's like, "Arr!" And he's defying gravity as well.
We could remake this scene, you know. Who's going to be Peter and who's going to be the werewolf?
You can be Peter.
Okay.
I kill vampires.
And
the werewolf attacks them.
Werewolf
Charlie
attacks,
shoots an arrow.
Yeah, and he falls down and he says, "Bullseye, dude," because he actually gets killed. He's a bit of a surf bum. We should have said that. He's quite a funny character. Actually.
He's pretty cool.
And he's the one who's in Liam Neeson's mate in
Taken.
And he's called John Grise, and he has been in so many films. Have a guess how many films he's been in?
109.
109. He has been in. I'll tell you, my internet's ridiculous. He has been in 144.
Bloody hell.
He was in.
He looks like he has a lot of fun in the movies he's in.
Yeah. He was in
Men in Black, Napoleon Dynamite, Get
Dynamite.
Shorty. Jesus, he's been in loads. Taken 3, there we go. Taken 2, Taken 1. Oh my God, this guy.
It's funny, isn't it? And he was just, because I remember first seeing him being like, that's the fucking werewolf from Fright Night 2. But yeah.
And also the werewolf from Monster Squad is mental. So there we go. So Brian, what happens next? So he falls in the fountain and he dies.
Yep.
This time they decide, look, clearly the window's not working for us. Let's go in through the normal way and down the stairs.
Oh yeah, well done. Yeah.
So they start running through the building and they fire some arrows at Brian, who catches the arrows because he's a badass. And Regine enters the room and she utters the famous Jerry Dandridge, Peter Vincent line, sorry, "Welcome to Fright Night." So she gets to say it. Yeah, she does a real proper Fright Night. And Charlie is instantly under her power as soon as she's in the room. Which means Alex then gets caught. And Charlie looks like he's going to suck Alex's blood.
He's kind of going towards Alex, and Brian's holding Alex. No, the fluid gender vampire with big fingernails is holding Alex's head there while Brian's behind. I think that's it. And just at the last second, Charlie comes to his senses, puts his head down and gets the claws and pushes him into Brian's tummy.
The reason he comes to his senses is because she says, "I love you."
Yeah.
And that breaks the spell. So yeah, you're right. So he does, kind of like at the end of Vamp, where they ducked out the way of 2 trucks about to collide. He ducks out the way of the claws of the transgender vampire. She rips open Brian's stomach. He falls down, and loads of maggots start pouring out of his guts.
Yeah.
It's pretty gross. Apparently, in real life, he really hurt himself doing that because he had to stand a particular way with all the maggots in a special pouch, and it made his abdominal muscles contract, and he ended up like pulling his entire 6-pack. Like, you know how painful pulling a muscle is.
Oh my God, that's well painful.
He pulled like his entire 6-pack, and he was out of commission for a couple of days while he recovered. Oof. So the maggots, the door slams, and they put the robe around the roller vampire transgender person who melts.
Yep.
So this robe is amazing. I need to get some roses and some robes from now on. Fuck silver bullets and stakes. I need a robe, and I need a rose.
Dan Bone sits next to a fire and reads "Robes and Red Roses."
A rose and a robe. Oh, that sounds like a great book. Robes and Red Roses.
That sounds
Chapter
an awful
1.
book.
Now, back to the film. So they've killed a transgender roller coaster. That is the name of a band. That is the name of a band, Transgender Roller Coaster.
And you got to say gender fluid anyway.
Gender fluid, not transgender. Jesus Christ, help me. Peter opens the curtain. Sunlight comes in. Regina it turns into a bat and flies off. And then another bit that I don't understand why this happens, Gav.
What?
Why does Peter Vincent think he's fucking Spider-Man? So rather than go down the stairs, he decides to climb down the lift shaft.
He's an off the chain, isn't he?
He's an old man. He's not Bruce Willis.
Why is he doing all of the climbing?
He climbs down a lift shaft with fire at the bottom.
He's gonna take the vampire on.
He's gonna take Regina on.
He is though. Peter Vincent, great vampire hunter.
He is. I suppose he's got something to prove. He probably thinks he's in one of his films now. His mind is so
I
bored.
reckon that's probably where he's at. Yeah, he probably lives his movies all the time.
Well, Charlie's kind of come to his senses, like we said, and he remembers that there's a coffin in the basement. So they head down to the basement, and Peter climbs down. As I've said, I don't know why. It really frustrated me why he's doing this. It's my only thing I don't like is why is Peter Vincent climbing down the fucking lift shaft while there's fire all around him? I don't understand it. Next time you watch it, Gav, I'd like you to really, really note those 2 Spider-Man stunts from him.
I can picture them right now. I don't know. I can't give you a clear answer why he's fucking jumping all over the place like fucking Spider-Man on acid.
So something else they do in this film, which they've never done in another vampire movie that I've seen. So we've got the roses for the werewolf. We've got the robe for the vampire. And they now use those little communion biscuits, like wafers. And because they're sort of blessed, the body of Christ, they put them in the shape of a crucifix on the soil in the coffin, don't they? To repel the vampire. And I've never seen those little biscuits used before.
It's an interesting movie because they're already going there with the different. I guess they're really trying to do a different take, and this does make this movie a little bit higher than not your average film. You could watch this as a standalone because the flashback at the beginning would give you that if you had to. If it's on TV, you've never seen the first one. And yeah, it does make this film a little bit higher up there than the other standalone 80s.
They definitely pushed it, and they're legit. Again, they're legit sort of rules of vampires.
I think Tommy Lee Wallace directing it has done a great job with it as well.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable, and we have taken the piss, but we don't mean it. It's an enjoyable film. And
I love
we
this
don't really
film.
care that he's climbing up walls and stuff. It's just adds to the.
I will still watch this quite a few more times before I leave this planet.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm gonna double bill these. In fact, it's October next month. I'm probably I might put a little double bill in one evening. Watch both of these in a row. So Peter gets attacked by the fully vamped out Regine. She flies around. She tries to talk to and seduce Charlie. Peter does a very cool thing now where he reflects the sunlight down his shaft onto Regina. She burns, she melts, and it's a really cool. And again, I've never seen something like this before. We quite often get the vampire do one last thing, like when Grace Jones died, her skeleton flipped the finger. But this is so cool because this skeleton, the sort of vampire burning, melting skeleton, manages to get up, turn around, and walk back to its coffin, all while it's on fire. It looks really cool, and then it just explodes. And then we get the epilogue, which is Alex is writing a book about this experience. She's obviously going to become a best-selling novelist off the back of it. Charlie and her are lying in the sun on a blanket.
A little blankie.
And that's kind of it. We don't really find out what happens to Peter.
No. What happened to Peter?
He's probably still in that lift shaft.
Hello!
Yes, I'm still here.
Doing something crazy.
I'll try and climbing down the drain pipe.
Good old Roddy McDowell. Great actor.
It's a 50-story building. Don't climb down the drain pipe. No, it's fine.
I like Roddy. He's all right.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Fright Night Part 2.
Yeah, and unfortunately not a Fright Night Part 3, but I would have been down for a trilogy.
They were looking at doing it, and we'll get into that when we go into World of the Strange.
Well, that's a good segue, isn't it, sir?
It is. So that's a thumbs up from me, and it's definitely a thumbs up from you.
A big thumbs up from me, absolutely. I've been looking forward to doing that one. Yeah.
It's on YouTube, guys. If you haven't seen it and you're a fan of Fright Night, which a lot of people are, please do check out Fright Night Part 2. It's really good fun.
Yeah, Sarah and I were quite excited the weekend. She's like, oh, what movie? Because every time I sort of go see her, we get to see each other like a couple of times a month. And when I see it, she's like, what films do you got for next time? Well, she listens, so she might often know, but she, what are you watching? I was like, and she goes, oh, nice, let's do them. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And we're quite excited for watching both of them, actually, last time. So I'm quite interested because I'm off to see it tomorrow, so I can watch next episodes, which I can't even remember what it is. What's next episode?
We will talk about that in the
Stay with us, and you will find out, lovely listeners.
Well, for now, let's get Bill in here.
Yeah, that's our review, guys, for Fright Night Part 2. Definitely worth checking out. One of the better sort of sequels of the 80s. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 is another notable one. There's a couple of others, actually. There's a few other little bits and bobs. But a good film. Let's get Bill Murray in here. Last time, Bill was a cheeky motherfucker. He jumped off the end of this. Do you remember?
Yeah, what was that about?
He
what was
didn't
he doing
introduce
there?
the show and then just threw himself over underneath you talking in the outro. I don't know what went on there. But
He's got a mind. He just needs to really get back in his own,
he's probably all excited about
It's getting too big for his
Ghostbusters, the new Ghostbusters film, maybe.
Yeah, as we all are, if it ever comes out.
Yeah, it will. Right, Bill, are you there then?
Bill? Come on, Lim. Bill?
Hi, welcome back to World of the Strange.
World of the Strange.
Strange.
Oh, strange.
It's all so strange.
So, World of the Strange, Gavin.
Mm-hmm. Daniel.
Right. Got a story for you, but first of all, before we get into the main story, just wanted to follow up on Fright Night 2, and there was a weird little thing about it, where, as we talked about when we reviewed it, it didn't do very well. It was hard to get hold of, and number 3 was never made, and there are some weird reasons behind that. So I just thought it would be a good time to talk about that now.
Absolutely, okay. It's a bit of a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah. So first Fright Night, obviously big hit, horror comedy, Ghostbusters, the previous year, Columbia Pictures, both films. Tom Holland was the golden boy when he directed the first Fright Night. Even selected the songs for the soundtrack. The producers were ready to start filming the sequel before the original even came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Everyone involved in the first film was up for coming back in part 2. Even Evil Ed, Amy.
Well, he went on to the port to do porn.
Really?
Evil Ed.
Fucking hell.
Did you know?
You're so cool, Brewster.
Yeah, it's a gay
I think
porn.
he says that in one of his films.
Yeah, they did gay porn.
I didn't know that. Talking of porn, do you hear about Ron Jeremy?
No.
Oh, yeah. He's getting a collective sentence of 250 years for rape and sexual abuse.
You're joking?
Nope. 15-year-old girl.
Really?
And a bunch of others. Yeah. Oh, he's in court at the moment with a mask on and everything.
I had no idea. He is, to be honest, his health can't be too good. But he had a massive penis, didn't he?
It doesn't mean you can go around raping people.
No, and I'm just saying though that's just. No, but I'm saying it was it was enormously big though. That must have been a horrible thing to do to women. Is what I'm saying.
He could suck his own penis.
Yes, and that's Yeah,
he's got the body. He's got the body of Danny DeVito with Batman as the Penguin, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He's yeah. What was his nickname?
I don't really know. Did he have a nickname? Did it Wrong the Schlong?
The Hog or something? No. Something like that.
Well, back to Fright Night. Anyway, let's move away from him because he's not a very nice guy. So, as I said, they were ready to start making the sequel. So this sequel that we've just discussed. There was a bit of a changeover at Columbia Pictures. So the head of Columbia Pictures didn't really want horror or horror comedy anymore. They kind of thought, we want to go for more highbrow stuff. Chariots of Fire, that kind of stuff. So the rights for Fright Night ended up going over to a smaller company called New Century Vista Film Company, which isn't a very catchy name. But the company did do The Gate and The Wraith, so they did make some, classic horrors and stuff like that. So they started developing the Fright Night 2 script, and as I said, Evil Ed and Amy were due to come back. Tommy Lee Wallace came on board to direct, and the script had been changed a billion times by this point. They'd taken out Ed and Amy. The guy that played Ed actually went in to be in 976 Evil, which I've never seen that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, I have seen that.
Yeah.
It wasn't long after that he went in. He left the motion picture career to start the pornography career.
Started making his own motion in pictures.
Yes, he did.
So Tom Holland and Chris Sarandon then were committed to Child's Play franchise. So they weren't interested in being in the or involved in the sequel either. But Tom E. Wallace thought, this is going to be fine. I can do this. I've dabbled in horror. I know what I'm doing. So he and the New Century Vista staff added in the Regine storyline, making her the sister of Jerry Dandridge. And he added in...
It's a good call, I think.
Yeah, it's good. They worked with it. They added in the new baddies. Belle, which is the name of the gender fluid vampire. Bosworth, Louis the vampire, the werewolf. They unfortunately got their budget reduced. So they took $1.5 million off of them and said, sorry, you're going to have to make it for a little bit less. So when everything was finished, they filmed it, wrapped it all up, and it was going to be released internationally in 1988. Didn't actually get released until the following year, and it only opened on 148 screens, barely made any money back, and then it pretty much vanished. It was really hard to see on video. It wasn't really anywhere at all. And the reason for that, if we get to the crux of this story, is because the head of New Century Vista was a man named Jose Menendez. He was a self-made millionaire. He was an immigrant from Cuba. Now, he'd worked his way up the Hollywood ladder from humble beginnings. He then became quite a high-profile job at RCA Music, then becoming executive vice president at Carolco Pictures. We all know Carolco. They do some of those classic 80s. They're a bit like Canon. But apparently he wasn't a very nice guy. He might have had ties to some very nasty people. I'm thinking sort of Cuban mafia or something along those lines. And apparently he wasn't a very easy person to deal with. But he actually, sadly, wanted to really push to make a third Fright Night, even though the second one didn't do very well. Tom Holland and Roddy McDowall were in talks to make the third one, and they were excited to do that.
As far as I remember, actually, it wasn't on the day of them. I'm pretty sure Tom Holland was on his way to meet, picked up Roddy McDowall, and was on his way to meet up with him, and then they found out what happened.
Yes, so this Menendez character and his wife were murdered by their own sons.
The Menendez brothers.
Yeah, Lyle and Eric Menendez shot their parents to death. Then they drove to Mulholland Drive, where they dumped their shotguns. Then they went over to a local movie theatre to buy tickets as an alibi. When they got home, they called 911 and they said, "Someone's killed my parents." And became a national sensation when the new television network Court TV broadcast the entire trial in 1993.
Wow.
They weren't suspected immediately, but after a while, one of the brothers, Eric, couldn't take the guilt, and he confessed to his psychotherapist.
Yeah.
Ignoring his own ethical responsibilities, the doctor actually taped the sessions and wanted to impress his new girlfriend by playing the tapes to her of what he does in his job, but the woman ended up going to the police with this information. So weird chain of events meant that these brothers were arrested eventually.
So I was thinking, like, because I know it's an ethic and a code and all this stuff, but it's like, come on, if someone's been murdered and they're saying that they've done it, fuck the ethics and codes. You say, because it's about fuck the murderer. Yeah.
I think they would have to convince you to go to the police yourself, wouldn't they?
But that's still wrong, isn't it? Surely.
It's weird. Well, over the next 3 years, there was a legal battle over the whether they or not they could use these tapes, because obviously, you're not supposed to. The ethics are
by permission recorded of them. Yeah.
The trial began in summer '93.
It's probably inadmissible in court, presumably, because it wasn't agreed upon having the tape recordings.
So the brothers eventually said the reason they killed their parents was self-defense, because they were sexually abused for years by their mum and dad, and they thought their dad was going to kill them.
Was this true?
It wasn't really ever found whether or not that was true.
Okay, so, yeah.
But yeah, it went backwards and forwards for years, and eventually a retrial in October '95. A judge was very much more restrictive in allowing the defence attorneys to focus on the alleged sexual abuse, so they kind of didn't really talk about that. But eventually Lyle and Eric were convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, obviously meant that Friday Night 3 never happened, and any sort of promotion and to do with really pushing Fright Night 2 was all put on the back burner because this whole crazy story was going on with the head of the company that owned Fright Night 2. Yeah. And after that, the who owned it, the rights to Fright Night 2 were just in limbo.
Yeah.
It was released quietly on VHS, and then it went out of print. It became really expensive for a while on Blu-ray and DVD. And a lot of people thought it was a bit of an urban myth. There was no such thing as Fright Night Part 2. Oh, I know I've seen it. I've seen it in a video store. Well, have you though? But yeah, it is real, obviously. It was really hard to get hold of until recently. It's now on bloody YouTube. But that is the weird story of Fright Night 2 and almost Fright Night 3.
Yeah, weird. Strange thing. And the Menendez brothers is a name which I'd heard, as in the realms of serial killers and things.
Yeah.
It's probably a good segue to talk. If you're into this sort of stuff, check out my other show, the High Strangeness Podcast, where next episode we could talk about an acid bath murderer. So there you go. Yeah,
from Robes and Red Roses to the acid bath murderer.
Oh, that'd be a good book actually. I don't know what is in it. That's pretty cool, but that wasn't the main story today, was it, for me?
It wasn't, no. I do have a story, and I'll read. And again, before you start questioning,
it's not one of your weird stories from your life, though, is it?
Not where I shat on something, no.
Shat on something? Has this been a multiple occasional thing?
When I was about 10, I was in the woods with my friends, and I really, 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 really needed a poo, and I'd never done a poo outdoors at this point.
I love this has turned into Dan's poo stories from yesterday.
And I thought, my friend Stephen said, just use a leaf to wipe yourself. And I thought, all right, I'll do that.
Yeah, I've got a story like this. Well, not really.
I picked up some leaves, but there was bloody stinging nettles.
Oh, no, you dickhead.
And I stung my bum hole.
And
I couldn't tell anybody about it. I got home and I said to my mum, can I have a bath? And she was like, weird. Why do you want a bath? And I was like, I just want to sit in the bath. That's all right.
So I sat in the bath. Have you never told anybody that?
Not really told anyone.
Is that the first time you ever told that story?
I think it probably is. Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious. It's a first for the show. Come on. How many podcasts are talking about their stingy bumholes?
The moral of the story is, guys, watch what leaves you wipe your butt with when you're in the woods.
Absolutely. Right.
What was your story?
Well, it wasn't that. It's just had a friend who was in the woods once, needed to go, and I was like, what are you going to do? He goes, oh, just use leaves. And I was like, wow, that's kind of out there, man. But obviously that's what you do. That's it. It's not, like I said, it's not really a story. I remember being in the woods and there's some poop and leaves being used. It may be a male thing when they're younger. We are creatures of ridiculousness at times.
Right. So this story, I'm going to read you the headline, and again, I've not really read much through it. I've glazed over it. I've done a speed read, as it were, like Alex.
Did you use your hand? Like, yeah, I'm speed reading. Go on then.
So your questions that you're going to have probably are going to get answered as we run through it, but I still really want your input and your what the fuck and that kind of stuff that you normally do. So here's the headline. Man cuts off his own ears and keeps them in a jar after paying £6,000 to make his head look like a skull.
What is that all about? Why is he doing that then? What? He wants his head to look like a skull. Why?
Sandro, that's his name, Sandro, who likes to be known as Mr. Skullface.
He likes to be known as Mr. Skullface?
Please, address him by his correct name.
Yeah.
He's undergone 17 extreme body modifications.
Oh.
Next, planning to have his nose cut off.
You're joking.
Even though strangers call him sick and disturbed.
Has he got a girlfriend or boyfriend?
I don't know. We'll go
special friend.
So he's a tattoo addict.
See, this is where it's probably spanned from, isn't it? Come from that.
And he's, like I said, he had his ears cut off and he keeps them in a jar. And there is a picture of them, which I am obviously going to post this story up not long after the episode drops, so you can have a look at the jar with the ears floating in it.
So he wanted his ears cut off. He paid to have his ears cut off. What's the next plan though?
His nose getting cut off.
But what's the end plan?
He wants to look like a skull.
Then what?
That's his plan.
Then what?
Lips, maybe? Get your lips off after.
No.
I don't know.
When he's a skull, what's then going to happen?
Well, then he fulfills his name, Mr. Skullface.
Then what?
I don't fucking know. Let's go through the story.
Go on then.
Currently unemployed and not in a relationship.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a surprise for either of those.
No.
Imagine him coming in for a job interview. Oh, who we got next? Sandro. Oh no, hang on. It says Mr. Skullface. Weird.
Or if
right,
you're
well,
on,
here he comes.
Or if you're on Tinder
my
or
God.
something. Swipe right. What the fuck is that? No offence to you.
Imagine him working behind a counter in a shop. You go in Lush to buy some bath bombs. I'll pick up these lovely bath bombs. Oh my God, what are you?
Yeah.
I can recommend the cherry flavoured ones.
What job do you get? What job do you get like that?
Radio disc jockey.
Yeah, it is a face of a radio, isn't it?
So he's 39 years old. He's from Finsterwald in Germany. Now he's undergone, as I've said, 17 extreme body modifications, including 4 head implants.
What? Head implant?
Yeah.
Oh,
so he's
yeah,
got little
sorry.
lumps.
For some reason, I thought he had other little heads put on him. Sorry, yeah. I was thinking little shrunken heads on taped on his head.
He's had 4 arm implants as well, so his forearms have got little implants in them as well.
What do they do? What, like little bulges?
To make it like he's got little lizard sort of ridges.
I never get that. I never got those things underneath. Don't get that.
He's also got implants on the backs of his hands to make his hands look more demonic.
What's going on with his childhood?
And he's had his tongue split down the middle.
For her or his pleasure, I guess.
So in 2019, he decided... I was going to do a German accent then, but it's not appropriate. He decided, because he's German, he thought, I'm going to get my ears cut off. And he thought, after that, oh, here we go. After that, his nose. And the final thing he wants to get done is his eyeballs tattooed.
Well, I know of that as a thing.
Now, yeah, you can have your eyeballs tattooed so they're completely black. It doesn't last though. After a year or so, the white starts coming back. But you can get them tattooed every couple of years. Imagine the pain of getting your eyeball tattooed.
Because
imagine
if you've ever had a tattoo, just that needle on your eyeball.
I like the sensation of a tattoo.
It
That's a nice feeling.
It
But
depends
on your
where,
eyeball,
man.
no.
Not
the eyeball.
I've had the odd tattoo, which has been a little bit painful, like ribs and stuff. But yeah.
He says that the decision to change his body in this way is a decision that comes from his heart. He doesn't have any desire to look cool or weird. It's just a decision.
Not.
Comes from his heart. Now I'm looking at a picture of him right now.
What?
I'll describe. Sorry, carry on.
What's going on with his childhood, and what happened?
Well, we'll read a bit more about that in a moment. Let me just describe what I'm looking at right now. So this is a guy who's got a horn on the top of his head, an implant. So it's a little unicorn, black horn coming out the top of his head in the middle. He's got ridges coming up from his eyebrows in a straight line all over his skull. He's got great big piercings, black sort of plugs on either side underneath his mouth, just above his chin. And his whole face is tattooed to look like a skull, but it looks shit. He's got about 4 or 5 eyebrow piercings on each eyebrow, and he's got the bit under his nose, you know that ridge under your nose above your lip. He's got that piercing in there as well.
Cool.
Okay. So this extreme look certainly doesn't sit well with everybody, and he admits that he does receive plenty of comments when he's out and about. He says, some people have called me disturbed or crazy.
I agree.
But that doesn't stop him from planning his next extreme body mod. As we've said, he's going to be having the tip of his nose removed soon.
When it comes down to it, if he's happy, fair enough. Who are we to say, you know?
Well, he said he was watching TV in 2007, and there was a guy on there who had implants in his head, and he thought, I'm going to get that done.
Yeah.
So he had spikes in his head, and there's quite a graphic picture here of straight after the operation with the ear, where it's stitched up, and it looks like Reservoir Dogs, basically.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And there's even a picture where the guy who's cut his ear off is holding the ear up next to where they've just removed it. Yeah, it's pretty graphic, actually. Anyway, until this point, he'd never wanted anything under his skin until he watched that moment. But he said this TV program changed everything. So over the last 13 years, he's had these 17 operations. He's had tattoos, he's had piercings. And he thought, you know what? The time has come for me to go earless. He understands that making such an extreme change now will change his appearance for the rest of his life. And his friends and family say, I'm a sick freak, but I don't let that bother me. People need to accept me for who I am and not just the way I look.
Okay.
The transformation has influenced my life. I should be accepted as a person because I've got inner value. He said it's been difficult to get a job since having these operations.
What do you expect?
A lot of companies are very conservative and they prefer to go with the flow. People just reject me as soon as they meet me.
Yeah. What do you expect? It's like I still don't know what job that. I don't know. I guess if he's not with public, he could just be behind the scenes.
Like Amazon warehouse or something.
Yeah, behind the scenes. Yeah, I'm guessing, but that's it.
So he keeps the ears in a jar on a shelf in his house, and there is a picture of the jars, obviously, with the ears in it. He said it's been difficult to find a relationship because of this as well. It scares a lot of women off.
Well, there's going to be a lady out there for him.
A lot of people do find me quite interesting, though. I have friends talk to me, and some of them want to talk me out of modifications. In fact, a lot of my friends said, you shouldn't get your ears cut off. But at the end of the day, I'm a person who does what he wants and goes his own way.
Yeah, and he's happy. He will one day, I think, have regrets, but I'm sure here, you know...
People stare at me. People stare at me. Sorry. I don't care. If someone says, you're sick, I then say, thank you for the compliment.
Well, yeah.
Negative comments go in one side and out the other, not in one ear and out the other. Ha. So he's already making jokes about his ears.
Brilliant.
He said, all of this has strengthened my self-confidence.
Fucking hell, yeah.
But he says, I would warn anyone who's thinking about starting their own extreme body modification journey. Exercise caution and do it for the right reasons. If you're a beginner, do lots of research. Think carefully about everything you're going to do. Take your time. And above all, never do something just because you want to be more cool. It's got to come from the heart. You've got to be yourself. There we go. Look at those words. It's got to come from the heart. You've got to be yourself when you cut your fucking ears off.
I just love his friends being like, nah, shouldn't cut your ears off. Why not? Just don't do it. Keep your ears. They come in handy. They come in eerie, I suppose, but keep them. Don't cut them off. It's just... It's just insane,
There's a picture of him from the early 2000s, and he's got like glasses, he's got tunnels, he's got like 3 tattoos on each arm, and that's it. And it jumped forward to like 2019, and he just looks like something from a Rob Zombie film.
I don't even want to look at him. No offence. I took my glasses off to do this now.
Yeah,
I was about to put them on, and I went, no, I'm not going to bother. I don't want to.
You should accept him for his inner values.
No, yeah, I appreciate that. I don't want to see it though. You know, I would like to get my wang out at times. Some people
There's a few of
would
these
not
guys
appreciate
out
that,
there.
possibly. You know.
Well, there's a few of these guys out there, aren't there, that have done these sort of things. There's a guy who tries to look like a parrot, and he's had his entire body tattooed green, and he's got like weird modifications to his mouth and his nose. There's a woman who tried to look like a cat. She's had loads of plastic surgery to make her face more cat-like.
Yeah.
There's another guy who's got puzzles pieces. His whole body.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Is a puzzle. So people do go crazy, and tattoos are addictive. You know, I've only got like a sleeve, a leg, and another arm, and that's it. But I do always want to get more. But also, I'm in my mid-40s now, and I'm kind of winding down on doing that. But if you want to do that, that's up to you, man. But I think cutting your ears off is a bit extreme. Maybe it goes back to like tribal things where there's body modification in tribes. You know, where they put things through their lips and their ears, or they. I don't know if they'd cut their own fucking ear off.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So there we go.
But like I say, he's happy. Let him do his little thing. But yeah, he must understand it's going to be hard to get a relationship and a job in Woolworths or whatever.
I love the story. I've struggled to get a job or get a relationship since having my ears cut off.
Yeah, he obviously.
Imagine that though. Like, even if you get over the fact he's had them cut off, you go in his house, and he's sort of, would you like a glass of wine? Oh, I'd love one, thank you. Oh, what's this in the jar? Oh, that's my ears. That's my nose in that one there.
But if you're going to go around his house, you're going to probably expect his ears to be in a jar, to be honest with you.
Imagine that. Imagine him when he dies. God rest him. You know, I don't want him to die, but I always think when these people do these crazy things to themselves, when they're lying there in the mortuary, you know, they get brought in, and they're like, okay, this guy's got to get ready for his funeral. Oh my God, what kind of terrible accident was he in? No, this is just how he looked.
Yeah, so what you're saying is the dude that's going to make him up is going to have a hard time, or a lady is going to have a hard time.
Or an easy time. Just leave him like that.
Say, well, I don't know what to do. Just put a bit of lipstick on it.
Shall I put some ears back on him? What shall I do here?
So I put the ears on, or keep them off?
He wants to be buried with his ears. Can you put the jar?
What if they get like those plastic fake ears? You know, ones you used to be able to put over the top of your ears in joke shops.
And one of those fake noses.
They put them on
glasses. Great show, Mark. Thank you very much.
Oh man.
Oh dear. So there we go. So what is the strange? The man who cut his own ears off, and he's gonna cut his nose off. So maybe he'll come back at some point.
That is
bring
strange.
him up again.
What if we could get him on for an interview on World of Strange? I don't want to be honest, but I don't want to talk to you.
The piss
no
out of him
offense. It would. I'd feel really bad. Yeah.
But the Fright Night 2 thing is weird as well, isn't it? There's a reason why that movie was not often seen, and is a bit of a hard to see, hard to get hold of movie.
Yeah, but as I saw on Amazon, not so much now, but yeah. Right, well, that's World of Strange.
Well, if Bill would like to take us out of here correctly this time.
Bill? Let's do it, Bill.
Come on.
Billy. Silly Billy.
That's all the time we've got for this week on World of Strange. Next week, though, gimme Ira. Hairless pets. Weird.
And we're back again, ladies and gentlemen.
Back for the outro.
Guys and ghouls. Next month, it's actually, because we're in there now, next month's October, Daniel. That means 31.
I'm excited.
That means 31 and 31 are build up to Halloween, and we'll try everything in our power, lovely listeners, to do a commentary in person together, because we haven't been in person together for a long time.
No.
To try and do a commentary track for our Halloween special.
Yes, as we've done for the last couple of years. Well, let's run through what's coming up then for the next couple of episodes, as we always do. So that was episode 97, a lot of fun. We'll catch up on that in a moment. Episode 98, our next episode will be getting a bit yucky and a bit sticky, and we're going to be covering 1985's The Stuff and 1988 remake of The Blob. So a bit of a gooey episode there, Gav. I hope you're going to bring some gloves and a towel for that one.
Brilliant. Feel like a cleaner up at a porn shoot.
Oh God. Episode 99, we are going to be tackling some classic Demonic Children with 1968's Rosemary's Baby and 1976's The Omen.
Wow. Okay. Omen, pretty epic. Not epic, pretty just, yeah. You know what I'm trying to say for The Omen.
Indeed. And now we can reveal what we will be covering for episode 100, because that is a very special landmark for us.
And we're hopefully dropping in October, aren't we?
Yes, if we get this right, if we get the scheduling right with this, it should be dropping in October. So quite fun for us to have our 100th episode in October.
And I would still love to hear from some of you listeners, because we seem
just about to say that.
Well, we seem to have a listenership very, very vastly wide world. And it'd be really nice to hear from some of you who may not use Facebook or any of this, who just listen to us whatever you're doing, just to record a little thing of you guys say hi and blah blah blah. That'd be that'd be cool.
Yeah, we'd love to have some.
I know people don't like doing that sometimes though, because it's a bit.
And that's fine, but we'd love to have some input from listeners. Whether you want to just say something, whether you want to talk about the show or us, or ask a question, or
because we could
do an impression, whatever it is.
We could leave an email address, couldn't we, on here? I suppose it's fine.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. We don't have. We should really set up a email address.
Yeah, we can set up an email address.
Set up an email address for messages, because that'd be easier than having loads of stuff coming to our way directly.
Of course. In the meantime, then, guys, you can do that on Facebook. You can PM me or Gav on Facebook with these clips or anything if you want to do it. Even if you don't want to record something, you can just ask a question.
But no, we will get an email set up, because, like I was saying, there's a lot of people out there who don't listen to Facebook, don't use Facebook, so
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Let's just get an email address sorted out for the podcast. We should have done that. We should have done that years ago, to be honest with you.
Well, but we're 7 years behind. You know what I mean?
I know.
So episode 100.
Yeah.
Wow. What are we covering? Well, let me tell you all what we are covering for episode 100. People have asked us to cover at least one of these films quite a lot. So we will be covering a little double bill of Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead.
Boom.
That is going to be a hell of a lot of fun to cover both of those.
I can't wait to talk about those movies, and we'll do a notable entry to the third in the Cornetto trilogy as well.
Yeah, we can talk about Edgar Wright. We can talk about Simon Pegg. We talked about him a bit earlier on with Space.
We did with Space, and
yeah,
I will talk a little bit of Space as we drop into that episode in the intro of that episode. Really. So yeah, that's gonna be cool, man.
Very excited. And then I guess we could say then that if we manage to get that on schedule, then we are planning on doing a commentary track for The Exorcist.
It's amazing. I'm astounded at times that we keep coming up with these episodes of these such good films, because it's like you'd think we'd have talked about The Exorcist before or The Omen, And we're still finding these really things. But then again, I was a little bit not so into The Exorcist so much. So that's going to be really interesting to do as a commentary, actually. That's going to be amazing, man. That's going to be cool as fuck.
Yeah, so that could potentially be episode 101 as long as we keep on chugging along now.
Well, that would be
chugging on with episodes.
That would be so. 101 would probably be Halloween special.
Yeah, that would be The Exorcist. So talking of chugging on with episodes, in between each of the main episodes, we are still dropping our very little bonus patron episodes exclusive to you patrons that are out there. And the last one we did, as I said, I covered a bit about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and a couple of other movies. You talked about Satan's Blade. So we're going to drop another one of those. We try and drop one in between at each main episode as much as we can, just as a reward. And if you want to become a patron, you can go on to Patreon and you can just type the podcast on Haunted Hill and you'll find us on there. You don't have to do it, but if you want to support us in any way, we would really appreciate that. Even if it's just £1 or $1 a month, it all really, really helps us to make the show keep growing. Yeah. We've already got the bonus episodes, and we have had a little meeting earlier, and we've got some things coming up soon, extra rewards again for our patrons. So keep an eye out for that, you guys that are Patreon subscribers. Awesome. It's a good time now to probably thank our patrons, Gav.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't want to be a silent partner in this. I am as thankful as ever for all the. But yeah, if you listen to the Patreon episodes, you can obviously hear how thankful I am in those, because I did say that last time. But yes,
thank you, Dan. Thank you to our patrons, and I will always, as always, name and shame you all. So thank you to RJ McCready, Lemiao, Kate Pollock, Rachel Elizabeth, Sarah Kay, Kevin S. Fife, Jamie Jenkins, Jill Smith, Matt Godley, and Josh Myers. So thank you so much, you guys. We love you very much and are very grateful. We love all of you listeners, though, as well.
Absolutely. No, we do. Totally.
Just the fact that you're listening to our silly voices talk about silly things is enough for us. Indeed. Great episode, Gav. Did you enjoy that? Those vampire movies?
Yeah, totally. As soon as you said we were covering them, I was really happy. Especially like Fright Night 2. I think that's I really dig that film. It feels like a film which I haven't seen many times, but I have, and it's I don't know, it's very underrated, very under the radar. Good movie.
It's exciting looking at what we've got coming up. The Stuff is a movie that I really love. I'm really excited to talk about that. Omen is going to be a fun one.
The Stuff now I'm not so familiar with, actually. So yeah, the Omen. We could
that's a good one.
We could pop back to the church, couldn't we?
We could, and we can talk about the curse around that movie as well. And then obviously Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead are going to be awesome. Exorcist is a classic. So it's going to be some fun conversations coming up over the next couple of months, guys. Getting you in the mood for Halloween. I'll just very quickly do some admin, and then we can wrap up and just have a little chin wag as we say goodbye to you all. So, as always, just to say that the podcast on Haunted Hill is a proud member of Legion Podcast Network. You can find Legion Podcast on legionpodcast.com, also the place to find out about all the other amazing shows on the network. You can also find Legion on Facebook. Just go on Facebook and type Legion Podcasts. Again, all the shows bounce on and off that one, and each show normally has its own Facebook page, including us, the podcast on Haunted Hill. This is where we're most active. You'll be able to chat with us. You can PM us on there, like we said. People just post up trailers, videos, things they're watching. It's a lot of fun. It's a little family. We really enjoy interacting with you guys. Yeah. Made some really good friends on there over the last 7 years of doing this, so it's great. You can listen to us on most podcast platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Podknife, Apple, the Podcast Addict app, the Podbean app, and most other places that you can find podcasts. We're on Twitter with Twitter at Haunted Podcast. Instagram, we're on the Podcast on Haunted Hill Insta. And don't forget, Deadbolt Films, our production company, where we have 2 podcasts, a comic book, some short films, and some feature films. You can go visit deadboltfilms.com. We're on YouTube. We have a channel, so just type Deadbolt Films on YouTube. You can find our channel. And there's also Instagram, Deadbolt Films, and Twitter, which is just at Deadbolt Films. And as I've mentioned, we're on Patreon as well. If you ever want to find any of these links and you struggle, message me or Gav. Me, probably, guys. And I will direct you in the right place. Nothing. So there we go. That was episode 97. We are ploughing through these episodes now. It is a positive to have come out of the pandemic, I would say, Gab, is that me and you have been so productive
with this podcast. Yeah, and I feel like we've got stronger with it as well. I feel like actually my conversations with you on the films, we sort of at times get into sort of quite more in-depth stuff with a bit more of an actual reviewer's eye, which is surprising, really, for a bunch of just like Bill and Ted. You know?
And obviously, we're also doing our bonus episodes, and you also have your other podcasts, which you can talk about now, please.
Oh, the High Strangeness podcast. I did mention it. World of Strange, anyway. And it's Sarah and I, my other half. We sort of talk about mainly murderers. It's been a bit full on at times. Yeah, like the last episode we did is we were talking about stalkers, and we went into slightly in depth with a few of them. One of them a Bjork stalker, and I was what?
Bjorka. Stalker Bjorka.
Oh yeah, brilliant. It's just watching some of that and listening to and I put up like an audio clip of he made this video of him before he was gonna kill himself live on camera, saying I don't want to disturb Bjork. I know it probably will though watching this video, but that's not my intention. But he said this one line which was just like, death is scarier than life, and this is what I'm sorry, life is scarier than death, and this is why I'm going to do this. and it was just like, wow, that's, you know, it's just crazy going into the mind of these people. You know, I don't want to put this episode on a down on the end of it, but it was just like, whoa, it's just like full on. But yeah, we're doing Acid Bath Murderer next time, and then after that, Rose West. And that, and Fred West. Oh God, these episodes, they're so full on. And after that, I've got free reign, and I'm voting for Bigfoot, just for ease. Just give me some Bigfoot.
That's Gav's other podcast, the High Strange podcast. And talking of sidecasts,
full on at times. Yeah, go on.
Talking of sidecast, I recently appeared on yet another episode of RJ Creedy's show, Bite Size Cinema Podcast. So give them a plug there. Check that show out; it's really cool. And we talked in depth and extensively about the movie Unbreakable for M. Night Shyamalan from 2000. So if you want to check that out, guys, that is floating around on the Tinternet at the moment. That's Bite Size Cinema Podcast. So lots of stuff going on. We've been very productive. Yeah. Not to mention all the film stuff and script stuff that's going on as well. The webisodes.
It's kind of post coronavirus, and I'm not working really. I've hardly got any work going on, so we can do more regular podcasting. I'm in a film.
And I am still working, but I'm managing to fit all this around it,
which is good. Yeah.
Probably a good time for me to thank my wife actually for allowing me to do so much shit, because I watch a lot of films for all these podcasts that I'm on, and watch a lot of films anyway. So, and I know she's recently started listening to the episodes again. So thank you so much, babe. There we go. Episode 97, brilliant.
Yeah, it's good. I look forward to the next episode.
Me too.
Saying that, what are we doing?
Well, I've already discussed it.
Tell me again. I forgot already.
Blob.
What was it? Stuff in the Blob.
Stuff and the Blob.
Yeah, that's why I've forgotten already, because I don't really know these films that well. All right, nice one.
Well, that's a good night from Grace Jones' horrible clawed toe.
Yeah, they are quite. And it's a good night from a fake Mel Gibson.
And it's a good night from the German guy who thinks, I'll just cut my ears off.
Oh, man, what is he doing? What's going on with that? And it's good night from you.
And it's a good night from Peter Vincent. Fright night. And it's a good night from me.
And good night from me. Yeah, and you.
And us.
Me, us. Good night.
Let's close the doors on the Haunted Podcast.
Let's lock the windows and make sure the doors are firmly bolted.
The fire is crackling.
Oh, it's all getting spooky.
The tea is brewed, and we bid you good evening and good night. I'm trying to be as scary as I can.
Good night. See you later, guys. Take it easy.
See you guys.
Take it easy. Thank you for listening to the podcast on Haunted Hill. We will be back again real soon.